Hello and welcome to the post-race show. My name is Kriya Gangia and joining me is Ernest Page from the beautiful city of PE.
Beautiful indeed, and the racing itself was beautiful too. And we're going to jump straight into round 3 of the SAGT to see exactly what happened.
All the way through practice, the times tumbled lower and lower, till Arnold Neveling set the fastest time of 56.995 to snatch pole ahead of Michael Steven by half a second. Aldo Scribante suffered mechanical problems in his Lambo, so chairman and founder Isak Spies stepped aside so the local favourite could compete along Steven in the McLaren. Aranjis bolted away from the chasing pack and built up a significant lead over a high-speed train of cars headed by Michael Steven. As the pro drivers jostled, it was Dane Angel who managed to sneak by thanks to his sister Pro-Am Ferrari, causing some confusion onto the main straight. Silvio Scribante then decided to dive into the pits for an early stop. Into clear air, he leapfrogged his rivals and managed to stay ahead of Dane Angel and VW Works driver Daniel Rowe. When Steven pitted and Aldo Scribante took over, Angel, in spite of running with 75 kilograms of success ballast, surged into third as Aldo got to grips with his unfamiliar McLaren, having had just one sighting lap on the way to the grid. Marcel Angel drove a solid race, having not competed for 2 years, claiming 5th ahead of Rowe and Chelsea Scribante, putting him first in the Pro-Am class. It didn't come easy though, with the Aldo Angel and Marius Jackson running nose to tail for multiple laps, until Marius spun his Audi R8, a new car he's still getting to grips with. Jackson's woes elevated Hein Lategan's BBR Racing Porsche into 7th place, having started from the back of the grid due to mechanical issues in qualifying. Sun Moodley arrived with a shiny new Mercedes AMG GT, this front-engine monster different to the rear-engine Porsches he's used to. In the end, it was Aranjis who took the checkered flag, 26 seconds ahead of Silvio, who managed to pip the hard-charging Dane Angel.
A strong performance from Aranjis and Neveling as they came up with those top honours.
And Aldo Scribante said he felt like a lady of the night, jumping in his 3rd car for the weekend.
Yes, now as we prepared for round 4, that means a success ballast of 75 kilograms were given to Aranjis and Neveling.
The race 2 grid is formed from drivers' fastest lap times in race 1. So Neveling, taking the first stint, lined up on pole, followed by the rest of the grid. Chelsea Scribante swapped driving partners and was now partnered with Darren Goodmans, himself no stranger to fast rear-wheel drive race cars. With fuel spilling out of Marcel Angel's car, the pace car peeled into the pits, but it was Neveling who put the Stradale Audi into the lead, but not without some resistance from Silvio Scribante. Dane Angel started muscling his way past early, and he would continue to do so throughout the race. 20 minutes into the hour-long race, Steven and Silvio made the slightest of contact, sending Silvio into the dirt. Dane Angel tried as he might, couldn't get past Steven's McLaren, who was suffering a slow puncture thanks to his earlier altercation, and it proved a masterful move as Dane dipped into the pits early to try for the undercut. Jackson, Marcel, Angel and Goodmans had a huge fight over the opening 20 laps of the race before Angel got ahead of the MJR Audi. The pit stops turned the lead fight on its head. Dane Angel set the pace and ended up ahead of Neveling Aranji's Audi to take first place. Silvio Scribante came home third ahead of Steven, Marcel Angel and the Chelsea Scribante Goodmans Lambo.
Yeah, I think the effect was smaller than everybody thought. I think it was purely a case of our other competitors just finding pace out of the blue, you know. But I'm quite proud with what we did. You know, I think we had a solid stint. The pit stop was really good. When Charles got in the car, he put in a massive stint as well. So I think from our side, we really gave it our all. There wasn't more to give from our side. Yeah, the time showed that our pace is really good. Fortunately for me, I had the fresh tyres, which gave me the opportunity to push for such a good time. But again, it just showed that you know, the whole package this weekend was really strong and really good.
It's the dream start for us. I mean, we missed the first round. But yeah, luckily with this championship, we having able to be throwing way around. So yeah, we're right in it now. So no, we're happy with that. Yeah, look, there's always pressure on us. I think we are the measure of the whole field. We've always got a target on our backs. Doesn't matter when, where. So you know, having won the championship last year, obviously the target is squarely on our back. And I think me and Ari this year, we have a formidable package. It's you know, I'm the first to say I'm not always the quickest, but you know, it's fun to have Ari with me and we being able to push each other. You know, I think in a way I'm making him quicker, just like he's making me quicker. So you know, end of the day we push each other and it's good. It's it makes for fun on the track as well. You know, bringing in younger, fresher faces. So that's Stradale's aim.
Yeah, we've had an absolutely fantastic day. You know, the team worked and they ran the cars faultlessly. So big kudos to them. They did a fantastic job. I think Dane to win the pro section was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, for us to get a double win, if you want to call it, in the second race of the day, was fantastic. Very happy. The next race, Dane will be carrying the 75 kilos ballast. I'll also be carrying ballast in the next race as well. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why it gets mixed up quite a bit, you know, when we don't always have the same winner all the time. And that is the whole purpose of the balance of performance. So it seems to be working pretty well. Personally, I think it's too much. I think the weights are too much, but you know, that's something we'll discuss and hopefully try and sort out in the near future.
There are already 18 drivers scoring championship points at this stage of the race, with Neveling and Aranjis being the two big winners so far.
And rumour has it that our current championship leader, Dane Angel, won't be joining us at the next race.
But now it's time to look at what was one of the most exciting races I've ever seen, the 4 hours of PE.
And it always proves to have great action when your championship leaders, Botma and Kruger, start from the back of the pack.
The South African endurance race was plagued with drama. Pre-race favourites Rian Botma and Jeffrey Kruger had engine failure. This meant they had to start from the back of the grid. Undaunted, the team arranged for their spare engine to be driven overnight from Pretoria. Within 2 hours, the engine was in, but that would not be the end of their woes. Another firm favourite, the Tavares Lategan 911 Cup, broke a side shaft in Friday's practice. The team flew in a replacement component which arrived at the circuit at 8 AM on race day. With both favourites starting near the back, it was young Kwanda Mokoena who started out in pole, with Sun Moodley in a shiny new AMG GT alongside. When the lights went out, it was a furious rush to the first corner, where Sun Moodley unfortunately spun out in the Mercedes. He did go on to run the first hour of the race and completed 55 laps. Botma climbed the ranks faster, snatching the lead from Mokwena's Mia's GT4 Audi after just 4 laps, with Tavares in the Porsche quickly making his way up to third. One of the fastest cars on the mixed grid was the backdraft slingshot of Mike McLaughlin and Steve Clark. The pair led for a period, but power steering issues meant that Lategan would later snatch the lead. Endurance racing is a race of attrition, but that didn't stop the Class E backdrafts from racing each other like it was a sprint race. Inside the cars, it wasn't all roses and champagne for many of the teams though. Meyer, Waltz and Harvey were forced to nurse the car's brakes and suffered a puncture along the way. Harm and Baron Pretorius had a strong performance run to 6th overall. A minor off wasn't their only problem though.
Looks like I drove over my son's foot. Now he's got a sore foot, I think, but I think he's all right. At least he's driving well, so I think it's all right.
Ellison and Radloff were running low on fuel, but a stellar drive from both drivers made sure they ended up in first of the backdrafts and fourth overall. Cape Townians David and Roberto Franco with Danny van Nicke qualified their Graphic Supply World Volkswagen Polo Super Cup to first in Class D with a smooth, consistent performance. Benjamin and Christian Morgenroot had legend Ben Morgenroot in the car with them, but were plagued with mechanical issues all weekend. They did, however, finish the race in a respectable fourth in class. Brian and Tony Martin drove a great race in the backdraft until the prop shaft donut broke, which cost half an hour to fix, dropping the backdraft founders to 12th overall. After a torturous 4 hours for some, Hein Lategan and Tavares brought the BBR 911 across the line closely, followed by Steve Clark and Mike McLaughlin. Mokoena and Mia brought home the GT4 in third and took first in Class C, with Ellison and Radloff taking the hotly contested Class E honours.
Fantastic week, fantastic 3-4 days. We had some drama yesterday or day before. Managed to get the car ready. The car ran beautifully thanks to our team and obviously Hein's performance. I started, he finished. It was a perfect weekend, and being back in PE, it was lovely. I love this track. Both of us like the track, and a number one is always a great thing to achieve.
The car ran perfectly. I mean, he did a great first stint. He got the car from the back of the grid up to third, and then I mean it was a long stint. I had to do 2 hours 15 minutes. So I think we're going to be stiff in a day or two's time, but it was a great drive. We'll still do Pakisa with this car, and then hopefully if everything goes well in East London, we hope to have a new one.
Yeah, it was tactics. The pace was very fast in the beginning. We chased, and then we said, nah, let's use our head a bit. Then Chris put a fantastic middle stint in, and that put us in a position to play the tactics at the end. And it was literally touch and go. All three of us could have run out of fuel. One of them capitulated and did an early pit stop, which gave us a little bit of time, but still, we had the reserve light on for the last 20 minutes. On the radio, they were screaming, come, pit lane's going to close, do a stop go. But we rolled the dice, and well, we drove the car down the pit lane, so that's good. All these races are really it's a 1 hour race that takes you 3 hours to get to the start of it. So you got to pace and get yourself in the right position for the last stint, and we did that. But 3 other guys did as well. All three of us were together in the start. We were all together at the end, and I think a bit of luck played our part, because the other guys got a puncher. They had to change a wheel or something, and that gave us some breathing space. Otherwise, they should have won it. They were quicker on pace overall. But I think that's Backdraft's idea, which we all support. So of the cars that are identical spec, Class E Backdraft production cars, the idea is the tactics and the driver and how you can set the car up. And I think we're getting it there. There's been hiccups along the way, but Red Star was also the same thing. Red Star was very close. We got the victory by a very small margin at Red Star, and it was 30 seconds at the end, but could have been 30 seconds the other way. Yeah. Everyone in the series is good. There's hundreds of good drivers, so we'll do our best, but everyone else does their best, and that's what racing's about. Eh? At the end of the day, we had fun. We're smiling at the end. That's what it's for, so thanks to everyone.
Yeah, great race, great team. Thanks so much to Colin for the ride. Normally the mechanic helping, but today I was lucky enough to be in the seat, and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it was an awesome day. My partner here, he drove like a champion, right? Many seconds quicker than me every lap, and I'm so happy to be part of his team. And really, very quickly, thank you to the organizers, to Isak, Kolile, Wayne for putting it together, Eric as well. I know behind the scenes, yourself, Kriya, running up and down the pit lane the whole day. Thank you very much for that, right? I think the spectators, thank you to them, and all the fellow competitors. The guys in the Cobras put on a great show. We had the Porsche, we had the Polo, the Legion. here unfortunately had a bit of trouble, but I think anybody who finished this race, we are all the winners for today, for sure. And thanks to my family's support back home, we really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you PE for having us, and we look forward to coming back soon.
Yes.
Sunday.
Thank you to everyone who made this possible. The atmosphere today was incredible. Seeing all the spectators and fans, it's made it so much better. And it's also to Uncle Mo for bringing the car home and being the best co-driver.
Thank you, son. Thank you.
It just shows that anything can happen now that Ellison is leading the championship in a backdraft.
Especially considering that Lategan, Tavares and Mokoena have confirmed their participation for the rest of the series.
Don't forget, this weekend is the SA Virtual GT, also happening right here in PE.
So for myself, Kriya Gangia and Ernest Page, we'll see you just before the race in the Free State. But for now, we're closing with a few words from co-founder SAGT.
Yeah, I think in terms of planning, and I think of what came together here, the organizing, the officials, just the track. I want to say thank you to PE, for a wonderful event. It looked like the public supported us, and it just came together. And I mean the weather, it's fantastic. So we have no wind. PE is full of wind, but we have no wind. So what a pleasure. I think it came out for us very well. We're very happy. Thank you for the public of PE for supporting us, and I can only say thank you.
Welcome to Africa's first ROG arena.
Woo!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first ever Virtual SA GT series. I'm Stephen Koenig, and I'm joined in the box with Ernest Page. Ernest, it's absolutely fantastic to be here at Aldo Scribante, and a big lineup right here on R-Factor 2 of the best sim racers in the country.
Indeed, the best sim racers in the country are all gathered around, and here they are for the Virtual SAGT. And basically what is happening is that we've got a event happening across the season, which is the SAGT Championship, one of the first of its kind. It's powering its way into the hearts and minds of South African motorsport fans, and this is the virtual tie into that event, which means that drivers will be able to get access to those real cars, at least the top 3 drivers as per the rules. So there are very big prizes available at the end of all of this. There are very large prizes available at the end of all of this, but these drivers have to be in it to win it if they want to get to those prizes. And of course, none of this would be possible without our sponsors. And on your screen over there, you can see those sponsors. You got SAGT, ATK, Africa Race Together, Michelin, Fast Racing Fuels, Toys R Us, and of course, Motorsport South Africa. So folks, this is
the Virtual SAGT. And I tell you what, these drivers are in it to win it. And Stephen, you can tell us a bit more about the sim that we're racing over here, which is of course R-Factor 2.
So R-Factor 2, which is known by everyone, coming off its predecessor R-Factor 1, released in 2012, has been updated so many times. The graphics have gotten to a immaculate point using its new engine, new refined force feedback to help the drivers, and also open for the modding community, so it will live on for a long period of time. And that's how we're able to incorporate South African circuits into this, not just the big Kyalami. We can have Aldo, Scribante, East London, Red Star, and many more getting put in, and also having our local cars put into this. A lot of work has gone into it, and also is very new for a lot of the drivers coming from Assetto Corsa Competizione and coming from Assetto Corsa, even iRacing, into this massive R-Factor 2 engine. So it is going to be incredible.
Well, I think it's going to be incredible too. And R-Factor, as you can see, as we slowly make our way around the circuit over here, we were at Aldo, Scribante, the two of us, for the SAGT event, and this is exactly what it looks like. I mean, you've got the buildings, you've got the start-finish line over there. We're going into turn 1 over here, and this looks very similar. As a driving experience, I've been around both the virtual and the real one, and there does seem to be a parity between the two. So it's very cool when you see the modding community come together like this and put together a world-class version of the circuit, and that is what allows our drivers to 1 week, guys like Daniel Rowe, race at the circuit for 1 week, and then next week or 2 weeks later race at the virtual circuit. Some of the guys were joking around that Daniel Rowe was practicing at the SAGT event for the virtual GT event. But speaking of Daniel Rowe and other drivers, we got a star-studded lineup here today. We've got a whole bunch of drivers that some have come from other sim racing, sim games like Assetto Corsa, and some have come from the sim that you're familiar with, Stephen Koenig, a sim that you play quite often, iRacing.
That's it. You'll see the likes of Doe Herber, Paul Herber, all jumping in. Daniel Rowe has also been in it. Luke Lecchese has also been in it. So it's been absolutely fantastic to see guys coming into the new sim that's been put into South Africa. Never got too much love, but now is starting to move forward. So it's glad to see that there's a little bit of change up going on. But we're also talking about the differences that can go on. Remember, they've got different types of visual deformation on the tires, which is also, they can now also start feeling the flat spots along with seeing it on the other cars if they get close enough. But one thing they have to also be very prepared for is this is not like their usual stomping ground. It is their own tricks to the trade to make it, they're able to get a little bit faster. So it's going to be interesting to see how people are going to develop their styles, which would work in one. Let's see if it will work in another.
Exactly. Then we got fuel stops fitted into the mix as well. The drivers have to stop for fuel. But Stephen, you were mentioning that some of the drivers might actually just do a splash and dash. Some of the drivers will put in the minimum 1 liter of fuel just so they can get in and out of the pits as fast as possible. But at the same time, what I love about where we're at right now, and you only get this once, is that for the first time the drivers are unsure about how the tire wear is going to affect them over an hour in race conditions like this. Many of the drivers will have to figure that out as they go.
That's it. And remember, the more they fuel, the more degradation goes onto the tire, the slower they go. So a splash and dash can either be a big payoff or a big fail. So this is where it comes in. Are you going to underfuel and rather go and fuel up a little bit later? Or are you going to try and get yourself to the end? There's lots of different things to put in because it affects the cars differently as the race goes on. Remember also the circuit does change quite a bit. You've got no grip at the start. You're going to have a big heavy car. You might understeer it, you might lose it, or if you run a little bit too light and the setup doesn't work for you, you're going to be slipping and sliding all over the show. And I think you're going to go and look at the tire wall a little bit further on.
Well, we're going to look at the grid now to see exactly what is going to be happening here today. I, for one, am excited to get the racing started. I'm sure people that are watching are also excited to get going here at Aldo Scribante Circuit. Of course, the iconic circuit built by South Africans in the 70s. has been a mainstay in South African motorsport, and the Scribante family very much involved, and Daniel Rowe joining them last couple of weeks ago. But a circuit that has been known to be very technical, even though it's fairly simple. It's also been resurfaced recently, and now the drivers can enjoy less tire degradation. But do you think that the surface is going to be good on tires in this virtual GT event?
From a little bit of practicing done on it, I don't think so. I think this is a very, very rough circuit in the sim at the moment, because it's a little bit older than our current rebuild, but it's going to be interesting to see how the guys are going to develop their strategies to it. Also, it's going to be one to keep an eye out for. It is a fast flowing circuit, but soon as you lose track, you go a little bit out, you go and clip the curb, you can also cause punctures, you can throw your car out and sustain major damage. So even though, as you said, it's very simple in certain aspects, it can be technical, and it can also land you up in some very hot water with close racing. That's the thing. They're going to be super, super close. They're doing 56, 57, times around here. 57 seconds is extremely, extremely fast, but they are within 0.1 of a second of one another. So one mistake can cost them everything.
Yeah, one mistake can cost them everything. We're going to go check out the cars now, and Steve, we've been talking about which cars the drivers are racing. We've got Luke Lucchesi there right up at the top as they're going to the first corner very slowly. The starting order, they got Johan Grobler in second place. That's JC Grobler there. Andre Serradio, another familiar name over there. But a lot of these guys are coming from various different platforms, mostly iRacing, Assetto Corsa, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the grid as they now make their way around for the warm-up lap, and soon we will be going racing. I'm looking at the stream now. We've got Kaylen Mauer in the stream saying how's it. We've got DMR boys saying hello as well. And let's not forget that some of these guys are from PlayStation as well.
So it's going to be very interesting. At the moment, a lot of the guys are still getting used to being behind the pace car. In the Assetto Corsa Competizione, of course, you can go through your partner. It's not a problem. In this, not so much. Like in iRacing, you're going to pump and barge. So they have to get used to it, then line up and not catch each other in the process. But Luke Lucchesi does have the advantage being on the inside, so he will be able to try and pull away a lot quicker. And he's got the likes of Daniel Rose so close around him as well. So let's see how it's going to battle out. The Porsches do have a bit of an advantage here in a later game, but you can see a lot of Ferraris making up the field. The guys choosing the Ferraris looking for the long game in the entire series, not just the short game. Yeah.
So the pace car should peel in any second as we make our way onto the main straight. We go on board with Johan Labuschagne there in third position, ladies and gentlemen. There goes the pace car. The drivers are on the grid. Luke Lucchesi leads us off. Luke Lucchesi on the right hand side of your screen there. Off they go. Daniel Rowe slots into second position over there, and just look at the make the way Luke Lucchesi starts to gap it out, but now the rest of the grid compresses as they go into the first corner. So far, no incidents so far, and the drivers have made it through in one piece.
That's it. The drivers all jostling and battling for trying to avoid the concertina effect, but one of the BMs absolutely losing. That looks to be Sudera, who's trying to just keep it all together. The big, mighty BM, unfortunately, being a little bit of a handful early on, especially on cold tires. And it seems like the mid-engines of the Ferraris are also battling out, as Labuschagne having a difficult time trying to keep it on the circuit as well. Trying to push that a little bit too hard, and unfortunately, it seems to narrow out the circuit for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, so radio over there on your screen of the 101 BMW slipping and sliding all the way around. You got Barkhuizen just in front of him. Labuschagne in third place. Daniel Rowe slots into second position. And in first place is Luke Lucchesi. Across the line goes Luke Lucchesi. Daniel Rowe in a familiar Lamborghini over there. And now we go on board with Johan Labuschagne, the Kessel Racing car, number 3, and in third place at least. Down the outside into turn 1, behind him Barkhuizen having a look. Somebody's locked up there a little bit. Serradio looks on at Barkhuizen, but closely getting followed by Glashagen over there.
I think Labuschagne is watching his mirrors at the moment, and he should not be doing that. He needs to try and push away. Barkhuizen getting pressure put on by the big mighty BMW. A little bit of contact, and that's Tristan Norbringer.
Yeah, Tristan. Oh no, Tristan having a bit of argy-bargy there with the M6 BMW. They're still side by side. This is not a spot you want to be side by side. Tristan goes down the inside. They touch again. The BMW. Oh my goodness me, that was a little bit too close for comfort. A little bit of Tristan and Otterwagen, Yerwin, I apologize, just slotting in behind him over there as one of the Lamborghinis runs very wide. One of the Lamborghinis in front of Tristan runs very wide. Then Tristan Nobriger slots past Gibson. And the guys are a little bit all over the place. And you were right, Steve. They are still getting used to the sim. They are still getting used to the environment. You're going to see these tiny mistakes, a little bit of a lock-up there. And you're going to see these tiny mistakes start to build up as the race progresses.
Well, Jason Gibson is very familiar with a Ferrari in iRacing, jumping into a Lamborghini, hoping that familiar with a mid-engine will get him going. But unfortunately, dropping him way back. One little mistake, and it all tightens up on them. Luke Lucchesi now starting to pull a gap. He is 1 second ahead of Daniel Rowe, which is a advantage he really wants to try and keep as they look towards their pit stops. But definitely this is where it comes into a bit of an interesting one. Barkhazen, being one of the lonely Porsches on the grid, is doing a fantastic job, constantly putting pressure ahead of him and also looking to try and defend at the same time. The Porsche has great rear rotation in the sim, so it's able to move itself around, and it's also got lower tire degradation that I've personally found. So it's always fantastic to see him trying to battle it out. And as he puts pressure onto Labuschagne the whole time, he's forcing that Ferrari to go and lock its brakes and get more and more flat spots that, let's be honest, in terms of force feedback, it's going to be shaking the fillings out of your teeth very quickly.
Oh, yes, indeed. Lots of lockups there. And Bark is currently running in 4th position, started off in 5th place. Suradia over there in the 101 car is now in 5th place. He started off in 6th and has made his way up to 5th position. We saw De Nobrega there back earlier on as well. Still down in 12th position, but Suradia doing well, making it 1 position, and now starting to apply some. But oh no, that is Luke over there. A bit of a touch there on the Porsche, and this is further back down the field. And these guys are really starting to muscle each other around a little bit here, and a little bit of touching here and there. But I do quite like the fact that you can touch every now and then without the punishment that you get in Assetto Corsa.
That's it, you don't take as much damage, and it looks like one of the cars going and pulling off to the side, and we got a little bit yellow. And that's
Somebody's got
Royal.
Unfortunately, Van Rooyen went off in the background there, and this is the battle we're looking at now. This is Luke over there with Mashigo behind him, and Mashigo, no stranger to sim racing himself, but now finding himself in a bit of a battle. McLaren versus Porsche as they go through the S's now on their way to Hangar. As mentioned earlier, you can't go through this corner sideways, so the two of them are going nose to tail. And through the sweep they go now into the hip, and down the inside goes the McLaren. He's going to try and do it. They touch a big touch there, but no, none of them are off the circuit yet. And I do like a little bit of argy-bargy here and there, a little bit of muscling here and there. So for me, that's you put his car there, they touched. The stewards will have to have a look and give the official line, but no harm, no foul at this stage.
Little bit of pushing and shoving. So now we've got Ethan Smith, also very known to the sim racing while going and chasing down Herber, doing everything he can. Now we're going to see the mix of the Ferraris. They've got a not as fantastic rear rotation compared to the Porsches, but they're able to sustain a longer run. So let's see how well they can go. A little bit more fuel efficient, so let's see what they're going to be able to do. Ethan is properly putting the pressure on, trying to see and force a little mistake to happen every single time. Hard on the brakes, so Herbert's trying to keep it all together. Tristan Norbringer trying to bring himself back. He's going past Hildebrand, who's also known to the racing world, Mashigo. And Luke's still battling it out on the Christmas tree. But the main thing we're focusing on here is Smith going after Herbert. We've got Hildebrand, he's also making a bit of ground, locking up on that right side, so starting to feel the shake every time he goes in, flat sprouting those tires, and let's see how long it will actually last. So it is going to be a fantastic one, and it's definitely a tricky situation. So now it is time for Tristan to start pulling away. Hildebrand having to just try and recover. You can see a little bit slower on the entries, a little bit of a slide now as the tires are losing more and more grip from those lockups. Definitely not helping him as he finds his way around.
Lockups are not ideal. You don't want to have too many lockups, and what that does is, as you mentioned, it flat spots those tires and you start to feel the vibration. We see the Ferraris locking up a lot on the rear right wheel through many of these corners. So that might be a setup issue. I'm wondering who's going to affect them. I mean, you know there's some lot better, Steve. Will it affect them if it's the right rear locking up every single time?
Well, it's going to give them a hell of a shudder the whole time, but soon as they're also going to feel that it's going to start sweeping out. The tires go through different points, so they've got this massive amount of grip. Then they get to a point where they start becoming a little bit gummy. When I say that, they've got grip and then they don't. They kind of start sliding out a little bit. Then they've got a complete washout. The tires will not stick whatsoever. Sendero is going to be facing that a little bit earlier than most with the big BMW, a little bit heavier than most of the cars in the field, and he's going to have to contend with the rear tires starting to want to sweep out from underneath him. He's having to try and pull it back, but the more and more times that the guys lock up those tires, the more they go and pressure the right front, or the right, pressure those front tires, they're not able to turn in as hard. They're not able to get their nose into the apex every single time, and that's going to push them out further and further and going closer and closer to the marbles, which at this point will send them right off into the grass, which is like driving on ice, so you really don't want to be there. But the best lap time being set by De Norbringer is really showing his capabilities right up through the field.
Oh yes, indeed. Tristan really starting to peel his way through the field now. And I saw some guys on the stream commenting on mic peak a little bit. We made some adjustments here at the studio, so hopefully that should be much better now. And thanks for the feedback, guys, and thanks to all the guys commenting on the stream. We appreciate you guys' support, and we appreciate you guys watching the stream with us. Now on board with Tristan, and just look at the powerhouse that is De Norbringer. Still 15 seconds behind the leaders, but now all over the back of the car in front of him, Smith and Gerber within striking distance now. And here comes Tristan, this into the final corner. He's going to try and look down the inside. Yes, he does, but Smith knows, Gerber and Smith knows that he's there, and but he's not going to stop trying, that's for sure. And here's another opportunity, and just look at that Ferrari in the middle of the circuit there. Good defensive maneuvers, but not yielding. He's going to try and go for the overtake. Is he going to be able to get 2 for 1? Gets 1 for 1 and locks up for his trouble. And Smith, unfortunately, left out in the dust.
Ethan, unfortunately, having to also straighten up as Tristan went late on the brakes, locking up those tires. So Ethan just going and being a little bit on the safer side, saying, listen, I want to try and get to the end of the race. Bit of self-preservation at this point. Then we've got the team try-hard, Do Gerber, trying to go on the defensive. He turns in, and gets twisted round.
My goodness, Doka was twisted out. All three of them come off second and third best. Ethan Smith on the grass over there through the S's. And oh no, Ethan Smith is spinning again. Ethan Smith spins again. And that's what happens when you get overzealous and you put the power down on the grass. We saw that happening at the SAGT event with that backdraft slingshot where I think it was Steve No Sweat. He got onto the power almost at exactly the same spot, Stephen Koenig, speaking about many different Steves here, and that's exactly what happens. He got overzealous, put his foot on the power too much, and then spun out again after being on the grass, and unfortunately now, a lot of the guys have shifted back further down the grid. In front of Luke Lucchesi, still leading by 1.5 seconds.
That's it. Then we've got Andre Sidario, who's having a lot of fun in the BM. You can see those tires starting to move out from underneath him. He's maybe pushed it a little bit too hard, and that's why I'm wondering if Tristan's actually pushing the car a little bit too hard, and it's going to bite him when he gets into the last 20 minutes of the race unless he changes those tires. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see how the guys are going to power their way around and really work their way through it. But Sendero driving one of my favorite cars, the big mighty M6 BMW, where it doesn't have the beaver teeth on the front, and you can just see able to get into turn one, get onto the apex a little bit easier compared to the mid-engines ahead of him. And now he's going for a more of a long game. You can see slowly catching up to the back of Barkes, and Barkes having to just really catch the fishtail at this point.
Jeez, these cars are moving around so a lot. This is, of course, Andre Serradio through the hanger sweep now. And I think the hanger sweep looks a little bit flat here, but it's actually quite a steep curve. And the Porsche in front goes defensive, I think a little bit unnecessarily. It's going to cost him at the exit. But look at the way these cars are moving around. I do quite enjoy the way these cars are slipping and sliding through this incredible Aldo Scribante circuit in Port Elizabeth.
Well, that's it. They're all pushing as hard as they can, and now the tires have reached that little bit of a gummy stage. Remember I was talking about where it grips and then it wants to flow around from underneath you, and that is what's happening for Barkhuizen at this point. He's going in, he's going defensive, he's watching his mirrors, which is absolutely fantastic to do. You watch your mirrors, you're making sure the guys aren't closer to you, but you start psyching yourself out the entire time, and you're also sliding that car out continuously. The tires will be punishing towards the end. You can see now they're working their way around one of the back markers.
Jeez, that was quick. That was really fast past that back marker. We see Van Rooyen and Mashigo unfortunately out of the running at this stage with DNFs. What a shame over there. As we go back to Barkhuizen now, this battle continues. This is for 4th position. Serradio carving his way through and applying immense pressure to Barkhuizen over there. Labuschagne in 3rd place, a little bit further ahead. But Roo and Lucchesi have separated themselves from the field ever so slightly. But I do think that Labuschagne will be next on the list if Serradio can get past Barkhuizen.
That's it. So you can see how much pressure is being put on, but also taking a look. Van Rooyen going and giving us a little bit of an insight. Unfortunately, he had a mechanical failure, so he'll be back on the grid for race 2, but that is why he's out, unfortunately. So definitely not what we want to see from the Hybrid Academy driver, but at least they're going to get back on the horse and going. But Barkhuizen trying to hold on to that 4th place, and he's doing everything he can. What might be a good idea at this point, let Serradio go. Try and keep into the toe, pull yourself along closer to the field, and then concentrate on when you're going to pit. Remember, they've got that mandatory pit stop. The more that the guys are locking those tires, the more they are going and wiping themselves out early game. They're going to have a more difficult time later on. And I think Serradio has got the pace. It might be a better idea. Just go and let it, get by, pull them along, and start catching the field. They're losing track of Daniel Rowe and Luke Lucchesi.
The guys are battling each other out, and that's always the sort of the problem. I remember when we used to race that, you'd show the finger to the guy behind you, the 2 fingers, and say, let's go, and you kind of want to catch up to the pack first. It's more the case with sprint races because you don't have much time to be figuring things out for 2nd and 3rd place if 1st place is getting away. But on a 50-minute race, I think Serradio just wants to get past Barkhuizen, as we now cut to Ethan Smith, who's got a battle of his own going on here. Hillebrand in front of him, and here comes Ethan Smith in the Ferrari. They're going down the main straight now towards turn 1. Ethan Smith looking on down the inside. Yes, he is. He's having a bit of a sneak peek there, but is he going to make the dive? A little bit too far back there in this instance, but I'm sure the number 52 car over there, Ethan Smith, will be looking closely to see if he can get past both him and De Nobrega running the number 52 livery, so that's a little bit confusing.
Well, Hillebrand is very, very known for his defensive. I've been able to race with him. He's very, very good in trying to hold his position and will give you a rough time trying to get past. So it is going to be something very interesting to see how he goes. Ethan has got the pressure on the back of him, but he's not wanting to charge for it. They got one and past one of the back markers. That seems to be Owen, who's having a bit of a tough time in the M6. But you can see Ethan's trying everything he can, but he's just not confident enough to make the move. Now a little bit closer. Really take a look on the inside.
That's very close indeed, and he's alongside now, side by side. It's a breaking deal. Down the inside, touches the curb and pushes the other Ferrari across the way there. That is not ideal. Gets past, but the steward's certainly going to have a look at Ethan. He was already technically past, but that curb hop over there did not do him any favors. But I do, once again, I mean, look at that. If this was ACC, we would have seen that car go flying. Both of them would have been off the circuit for sure. So this was, that looks like a racing incident, I think. But I think depending on the rule sets and how the stewards are going to be judging him, that was a little bit robust. What are your thoughts on that move there, Steve?
Well, definitely made it a prancing horse, that's for certain. Maybe just underestimated where tried and figure out where the curb is. Thought it was a little bit flatter. Didn't expect it to jump out so high. Thought he could, ride the curb. But unfortunately, the Ferraris are not the most stable on the curbs in any form of Assetto Corsa Competizione and R Factor 2. It just seems to doesn't like to ride it. But let's see how that's going to affect it. Also takes a chunk out of that tire. It goes and increases that tire degradation, and he will start feeling it on the steering. So I think the guys have to now start thinking of when they're going to pit. And that's going to be within the next 30 minutes of the race. 20 minutes, I think, maybe cutting out a little bit too fine. But the guys are still trying to figure out where the limits are in the sim. That's going to be a better thing to try and see. Is you got to think of the technical game. The one person I'm very, very impressed with is Barkhuizen hasn't been locking up. He's been sliding. He's been trying to keep it all together. He's now behind Scenario, so now he can utilize the toe. But he hasn't been taking a chunk out of his tires. So I think for the longer game, the Porsche might actually have an advantage to move himself up through the field.
Advantage indeed, and that's what it's all about. You want to gain advantages where you can. We watch Barkhuizen riding the curve there behind the BMW, and look at the size of that BMW. I think we've forgotten how big the M6 BMW really is. It's a massive car to be using for GT racing as he goes across the curve, but that's going to cost him into the braking zone there. Big riding on the curve there. These cars are muscling their way through lots and lots of movement there. We see the Studio 397 logo coming on the screen. Of course, this game developed by Studio 397. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1 as Barkhuizen goes down the inside. Oh, Barkhuizen with a big bump there. Gives the BMW a knock. That did look like Serradio there in front. And Barkhuizen and Serradio come together. And oh my goodness me, this is going to affect things tremendously. Tremendously going to affect things. And Kalen Mawa giving some funny comments in the stream over there. Race 2 grid will be decided on fastest lap times from race 1. So the race 2 grid will be decided on fast, just like in real world, Steve.
That's it. It's absolutely fantastic to see. Basically, you just got to put in another quali time in your race, which is kind of a difficult one. You want to be the fastest, but at the same time, you've got to concentrate on, you have to make a pit. You have to try and carry your car along for 50 minutes. So it makes a very technical aspect for both the SAGT and the Virtual SAGT, which is always fantastic to challenge the drivers, and it becomes more of a thinking game, and also allows more of a team aspect to come into play. Say, listen, go all out, you should have enough. Or the driver saying, listen, I'm not too happy with currently my tires, maybe it's a little bit too hot, and I'm going to be starting a little bit further down the field. So there's two aspects to that. You want to keep behind the guy, get a draft, pull yourself along and get an improvement there, or you want to try and get past and increase your position for the race 1. Because remember, they're still scoring points, race 1 and race 2. So that's it. It's a very thinking type of game. You have to decide when the race is on and where the quali's on in the same race.
Well, we see Serradio now in 4th position, Labuschagne in 3rd place. Barkhuizen is slotted way down into 5th position. And you were right, you called it earlier on. You said that the top guys would walk away with it. Luke Lucchesi, the man with a karting background, also does a lot of drag racing at a Corsa drag car a couple of years ago. And a fantastic performance from Luke Lucchesi at the moment in the AF Corsa number 52 Ferrari. Another number 52 over there. This is getting a little bit confusing, but he is doing fantastically well. And look at Daniel Rowe chasing him down the gap now, down to 1.5 seconds. And I think that gap is getting smaller. The gap now down to 1.2 seconds. And Labuschagne just a little bit further behind, as Luke Lucchesi now starting to feel the pressure from Daniel Rowe. All that racing experience coming into play for both of these drivers. But they've also got back markers that they've got to deal with.
That's it. They've got to try and slice their way through the field, not to get held up too much. But remember, the other drivers are still in the battle. You have got Jason Gibson. He is chasing down Luke at the moment. He's trying to make up a position after a little bit of a dreadful start. He's going to watch his mirrors. He's got to get the blue flag. But he's still chasing down. He's in his own race. So this is where it becomes a little bit of a challenge for the faster cars having to make their way by. But you can also start thinking how to go and utilize the faster cars to essentially be your wrecking ball. But Scenario going and pulling in the pits at the moment, and it looks like he's getting a bit of fuel dumped in as he falls down the ladder. So maybe a little bit heavy-footed on that mighty M6 BMW.
Yeah, so radio over there in the pits, and yeah, I don't think it matters if you're heavy-footed in an M6. You're going to be using a lot of fuel either way. So radio over there just into the pits. He's out now, and he slots way down the order now in 9th position currently. That might shift depending on the standings, but currently in 9th position. Daniel Rowe's got traffic now. Daniel Rowe has traffic, and look at this. This is causing absolute upheaval. Lamborghini turns in on Rowe there, and one of the back markers in a Lambo turns in on Rowe. That is not ideal. Rowe's not going to be happy about that. Punching the air there, I'm sure he is. Now the hunt continues. He's still 1 second behind, and Lucchesi watching on in his mirrors, looking at all, there we go, watching on in his mirrors and looking at all the action happening behind him, hoping that Rowe gets held up in some way or form, but that wasn't the case. Rowe managed to power his way through, and now he's going to contend with another BMW. Rowe just with the avoiding maneuver there through hanger sweep now. And Daniel Rowe showing absolute aggression, but loses it there. The line was slightly off. Going on, that was and I did quite get a view from the back of Lucchesi's car. Very interesting view as Lucchesi locks up. Looks like these Ferraris are locking up big time on the right rear left, Stevie.
So they're starting to go and feel the pain at the moment. Now it's time to start shifting their brake bias just a little bit. Go and try and remove the pressure off the front, and try to get the car a little bit more to understeer instead of oversteer on you. This is where they've pushed those tires quite a bit. Now starting to cut through all the back markers again. They're out of the, they're into a bit of dirty air, if you could put it that way. And they're losing a lot of pressure on the nose. So the cars are battling. They're sliding their way around, and they're having to utilize more and more grip, but I think there's not much life left in those
this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. We saw the same thing happening at Port Elizabeth. Exactly the same thing. One of the back markers holding up one of the other drivers, and that's exactly what happened in Port Elizabeth with the Ferrari team of Team Angel, with some team tactics coming into place. Was this team tactics? We don't know, but here comes the Lamborghini around the outside. Rowe takes the dive around the outside of turn 1. Now they're heading towards the S's. Rowe has to back out. Surely, oh no! They touch! Both go off! Rowe and Lucchesi and Rowe collide. Oh my goodness me, this has shifted everything on its head. Ladies and gentlemen, Labuskakli takes the lead. Barca is in the mix as well. And this has really shifted everything absolutely on its head.
Well, how the mighty have fallen, that's all I can say. Getting a little bit too aggressive, and that's definitely not the way that you want to go racing, but unfortunately that's the way it goes. Daniel Rowe is going to be sustaining a little bit of pressure there, but I think we've also got the likes of Lucchesi, who's going to be sustaining a bit more than planned. That's going to extend the pit stops a little bit more, and they're also going to have to try and contend with it. Their tires must also be absolutely shot at this point. But as we can see, Gibson going off a little bit further back there. But it's just absolutely frightening to see how close you can go. But these are two drivers that are not willing to give an inch. They are willing to put it all on the line for absolutely everything, and unfortunately it's now thrown both of them further down where they wanted to be. And unfortunately you got the likes of you've got Lucchesi, who's in 5th. He was in 1st, he qualified 1st, and now he has to cut his way through the field every single time to try and make
seconds behind the leader. 18 seconds now, Lucchesi. And Lucchesi does seem to be losing a little bit of time to the leaders there. Does that mean that he could potentially be running a little bit slower? What kind of damage are we looking at these cars? How does the damage of a collision like that affect these cars, Steve?
So you're not going to see it in terms of a major visual compared to us, but in the car, they will start feeling that there's not enough pressure on the nose. They will feel that aerodynamics will be done. They'll feel that their suspension will have a slight knock on the one side, especially, the way he had the impact. He's going to feeling it on the right-hand side. He's going to have the flat spot on the left, so he's going to feel odd knocks on the steering wheel every time. He's going to have to try and jostle it the whole way around, but definitely not the way that you want to be driving for the next 33 minutes. And it's not things that get fixed very quickly. Unfortunately, they can try and fuel it and go, but I think he's going to be battling it out in race number 2. I don't think it's going to be the easiest push come the end of this race. It's only going to progressively get worse and worse and worse, and the driver's going to get more and more worn out as time goes on. But we keep an eye on Smith and Doherty here, and you can see how the Ferraris are missing the apexes. They're starting to get more of a mid-corner slide. They're getting that snap oversteer as they start getting on the power once again.
Well, Labuschagne leads us off at the moment. He qualified in 4th position. Lucchesi now in 5th position. He's now got Tristan de Nobrega behind him to apply some pressure. Daniel Rowe snatches the lead in the meantime. Daniel Rowe snatches the lead as Labuschagne goes into the pits. And Daniel Rowe, for the first time, is leading this race, ladies and gentlemen, after that massive altercation earlier on. And you can see as you go down the outside of the S's over here and then back left again, it's not the kind of place where you want to go 2 into 1. And if anybody knows that, it's Daniel Rowe. So that was a very robust maneuver, but I'm sure both of them have a story to tell as to who was at fault in that incident.
Well, Luke Lucchesi and Daniel Rowe have been slugging it out from Assetto Corsa Competizione to iRacing. They have never given up, and we've seen many of times the two. They're more than happy to go touring cars with GT3s, that for certain, and push the boundaries. But it's really been interesting to see them move into R-Factor 2, completely new sim, still trying to get used to it, but the same old rivalry that has been going on for years, duking it out. So it's absolutely fantastic. You got the likes of Tristan Norbringer here, who's usually battling it out right towards the front. He's lying in 4th place. He's trying to carve his way up through the field, and also seems to be battling a little bit more with the Ferrari. He's having to correct it every so often. So I wonder if he's also sustained a little bit of a knock to it as well, with the constant corrections that's going on. So very interesting to see how the damage is starting to play out a little bit further. And you can see right ahead of him, Van der Valt's just really getting a little bit sideways, and Tristan also catching that tail as it comes out, really fighting the cars out here. And this is where I would be more than happy to have a big front engine car.
Van der Walt definitely losing pace. Oh my goodness me, Van der Valt's car all over the place. I think the rear bias, he's definitely got the brake. And they touch a bit of a nudge there. And nothing wrong with that. Van der Walt tucks into the pits. Van der Valt's tires must be absolutely toast. There's Tristan makes his way now. And all of a sudden, Luke Lucchesi back in the mix, carving his way through. It always amazes me that the fast guys are so fast and consistent that when they fall back like this, they're able to claw their way back ever so slightly. We've got Luke Lucchesi back in the mix. We've got Daniel Rowe leading the race, but the pit stops haven't completed yet, and we will need to wait for those pit stop cycles to come to a conclusion for us to see who exactly is in which positions.
Well, at this point, Tristan Norbringer and Luke Lucchesi have seen each other, and they've also got a very long history. So let's see how this is going to play out. Will Tristan Norbringer just go and help tow Luke Lucchesi along, seeing that he had the pace? Or is he going to decide, listen, you've taken quite a fair amount of damage, I'm going to keep pushing? So this is where it's going to be a little bit interesting. Will the rivalries turn into a bit more of a teammate workout, or is it going to be a little bit more different towards that? As you can see, a lot of the guys trying to file into the pits, get themselves sorted out. A lot of the guys pushing it a little bit late. So now into the halfway mark, and you can see Luke Lucchesi still carrying on. He hasn't pitted. He's still got the tires that's taken a knock. He's got a lighter tank to him. So he's really having to fight that car the whole way around, and Tristan Norbringer is more than happy to walk away at this point.
More than there goes Radio in the BMW. Looking good in the BMW in 5th position himself. Involved with some tussles over the course of this race in the Walkenhorst car over there, and an imposing car, a car that you don't want to see in your mirrors. But these days, look at that through hanger sweep. Through hanger sweep into the hairpin now, and then down into the dip over there as they sweep their way up left. And these guys really working. Labuskaghni sets the fastest new lap. And we saw Labuskaghni doing exceptionally well earlier on. So Labuskaghni now with the fastest lap. And as mentioned, he qualified 4th and was leading the race. So Labuskaghni could be on a bit of a push now to get back in front after the pits, after the pit stops. I'll be keen to see where Labuskaghni ends up at the end of all of this.
So let's see how he goes. It's going to be a very interesting time as he has to try and push his way up through the field once again. He's a bit far back, so now he has to try and utilize it. So at this point, your tires are starting to feel off. You have to try and focus on getting a bit more of an understeer to the car before you go in. You can see constantly locking those brakes. So he's really doing everything he can to push himself forward. You got Jason Gibson who's in the pits, and you can see this is where the damage is coming in. The guy's going in for nearly a minute in their pit stop. And that's also a change of tires coming into play as well. So the guys are fixing damage, change of tires, putting fuel in, and getting back out. So it's definitely not going to help them. Luke at the moment being very consistent, trying to keep it all together. You can see the Porsche not wriggling around as much as Labuskaghni at the moment. And this is where it comes into play. Labuskaghni just hasn't got the grip to go for the attack at this point. He needs to try and make a move and send it, which he does.
And we saw the same thing happen earlier on with Labuskaghni. Labuskaghni makes the lunge down the inside. The Ferrari really doesn't like those inside curves as it turns in, does it?
No, it becomes more of a prancing horse. And remember, they are set a little bit higher. So you're going in there, it's not just like on the real circuit, you've just cruised over the bumps. This is a little bit higher. It's got a bit more of a ramp to it, and it will bounce you very, very high. The rebound on these cars are quite intense when you go over the curb. So it's going to be a bit more of a, you want to go on the attack, you're going to have a smaller track, and you're going to have to deal with all the pain that comes with it.
Yeah, that's the bound working there. That's the initial bound working there as they hit that bump, and the suspension actually pushes the car airborne, and as you mentioned earlier on, makes the car prance, at least nose first over that bump as we get on board with Luke Lucchesi still pushing hard. Luke Lucchesi still pushing very hard indeed as he goes through hanger sweep over there into the hairpin zone. Yeah, he's got Donobrega in front who once again locks up and gets it sideways. Donobrega locks up, gets it sideways. It does seem to me that these cars rotate quite a bit in this sim, and they do like to move around a little bit, so I'm sure it suits some of the drivers that aren't too afraid to rotate the car and use that yaw and use some more slip angle than you would normally see in something like ACC.
That's it, but also you got to remember that the Ferraris don't like a lot of lift off. You've got to be on the power constantly. The moment that you take your foot off that throttle, it will rotate quite a bit. And as you've mentioned, a lot of drivers, it might suit, it might not, but especially when you've got a fair amount of damage, you have to take your foot off the throttle. You have to try and get the car to slow down. At the same time, it's working against you based on the physics of the car. So it's a bit of a tricky one for anyone that's in the mid-engine, where you've got the likes of the front engines, the BMWs, where you can just stand on the brakes and it'll just understeer into the corner. But as it goes a little bit later on, it starts picking up a little bit of oversteer. So it's more of a later towards the end of the race car to try and move your way up. So Sodero is going to be enjoying it at this time, where the likes of Lucchesi and Norbringer, who are having to brake incredibly hard, they're having to correct more, and you can see locking up, trying to do a little bit more movement on the steering as they try and move their way through. So I think these drivers are wearing themselves out, and remember, there's still a race 2, so they're going to be puffing and panting. Come race number 2, they've got to try and figure out how to do it all again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a whole other dynamic over there. The ability to race intensely for an hour, shut down, and then come back again. I think that's going to tax a lot of drivers. A lot of guys aren't used to having to race like that. Even if you're doing an endurance, you're still kind of in the race. You're not across the checkered flag. These drivers have to take the checkered flag, take a break, and come back again. And I think Daniel Rell will certainly be one of the guys, Luke Lucchesi as well, will be one of the guys that will be used to that. I think we're going to see some people suffering as we go on board with Andre Hillebrand in 8th position over there, 1 lap down at the moment as they cross the line, and Gerber now in the pits as well.
That's it. Herbert going and running a long game at the moment. One of the things that the team try hard captain was saying he wants to try a little bit later, just see if he can try and pull his way through in case he catches a tow. If he was away from everyone, if there was no traffic in front of him, he would have pitted early, dump some fuel in and get going. So 41 seconds in the pits from entry to exit, so that's definitely a good time right here at the circuit. He was on the limit the whole time. It wasn't just braking a fraction beforehand, so really well done. And he now has to deal with a bit of cold tires. Hildebrandt over here, he's keeping it consistent, so I think what his plan is to keep the pace up, but at a more comfortable pace. Get used to the car, let everyone start working themselves out. He can see that people are locking up ahead of him. He can see that the cars are taking an impact. So he's going to play a little bit later and slowly catch up. Keep those tires, let them cool down a little bit more, and go back on that attack.
Go back on. Speaking of attack, Andre Hillebrand sounds like he's attacking this car over there. 4.2 seconds, and the time dipping and diving over there. So he's doing exceptionally well there in 7th position, trying to catch up with Labuskachny just up ahead. Suradio in 5th place, Lucchesi in 4th place, a respectable 4th place considering all things have gone wrong. But I haven't seen Lucchesi pit yet. Has he pitted yet, Steve?
Not that I've seen on the board. I think he's trying to make up as much ground as possible, but I think he's got to think a little bit further on that if you don't pit, you're going to get penalized for it. If there's a mandatory pit stop, you have to put at least 1 liter of fuel in the tank and then get back out again. If the guys are pushing beyond that, well, you're bringing your own pain at this point. But I think at this point he's got the red mist down on him, same as Daniel Rowe. He's got the red mist. He's got to go. He's got to fight it, especially after that massive incident, and try and pull himself along. And I think that's going to hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, 22 minutes to go. Still a few drivers that need to pit, notwithstanding 2 of the drivers that have been fighting for the lead earlier on. I don't think Daniel Rowe has pitted either, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll be interested to see if the 2 of them, when they pit, what happens. Labuskachny could be one of the drivers that's further up. Could it be Suradio Hillebrand? We're going to have to wait and see. But I think some of these drivers are definitely going to be suffering a lot once they go into the pits. We've got so far Rowe in the lead, Barkhuizen just behind him, De Nobrega in the 3rd place. We're now on board with David van der Walt, who is in 9th position and in the 13 car over there. And some of these guys got a yellow flag in sector 3. Hopefully nothing too serious as David van der Walt comes through.
I think at this point a lot of the yellow flags that we're seeing is the guys starting to lock up, getting onto the grass a little bit and having to correct themselves. Those tires have now dropped off a cliff. And that's a common saying, the tires drop off a cliff. But I'm not kidding you, ladies and gentlemen. The tires, if you push them way too hard, start becoming like you're driving on nothing. They've got no grip to them. They slide around. It's like driving on ice. And it's definitely a very, very challenging situation, especially going into turn 1 here. It's a fast, constant sweep. You've got to put the pressure onto that right-hand front, pulling yourself along. And unfortunately, when you've got no grip left there, it's going to start sliding out. Even the final corner, you're coming in fast, you're going in late on the brakes, you're turning in sharp, and the car just says, thanks, mate, I'm going to either spin around in circles or I'm just going to understeer off the circuit. So the guys are starting to feel the pain from a couple of minutes ago when they were having the hard race. It's all great. 30 minutes ago when you had all the grip. But now that you're losing out, you're starting to get it. But we've got to consider the drivers that haven't been pushing, like Damien van der Walt, now starting to make up ground on Doug Herber, who has pitted, who's warmed up his tires a little bit more, but trying to get the feel back into the car. At this moment, he's got crew chief in his ears, starting to tell him, the car behind you is starting to catch up, you need to move. And this is where having someone in your head is not the nicest thing to have around.
Yeah, well, speaking of someone in your head, Rowan Meyer and Renier from Merlin supporting number 667, that's Barkhuizen, they're coming in 2nd position. They are on the YouTube stream, showing some love there as we see David van der Walt coming through. And as you rightly pointed out, sometimes you want that voice in your ear, sometimes you don't. Right now, a lot of these guys are visors down as David van der Walt runs wide there. Visor down, nose down. He is trying to catch up as fast as he can. They know there's less than 20 minutes left of this race. And look at that, Damien van der Walt makes a tiny mistake there, and I think we're going to start seeing those mistakes pop up more and more as the guys start pushing on. But Damien really is pushing exceptionally hard. He's trying to catch up with Doghab over there, and we've just heard that he is doing so lap after lap, sector after sector, getting that Ferrari in front much closer and within his sights.
Well, that's trying to utilize the tires a little bit more, playing the long game. But in his headset right now, his crew chief is saying, you are making up ground, you can take him. There's 20 minutes left of the race. So now this has caused the red mist to come in. Doghab, on the other hand, is getting told, the car behind you is catching, you better step it up to hold your position. So this is where it starts getting a little bit tricky. The guys are now starting to push. The 20-minute sprint race has now turned in, and the guys having to really battle it out. You can see a little bit of lockup. Doe keeping it all tucked in, nice, but missing the apex ever so slightly. Damien getting a little bit of a better exit, slowly closing onto the back of Doe. Doe's just slightly towards the toe, slightly getting a little bit of a fresh, pull along, but not enough to get him out of this very tricky situation.
Very tricky situations indeed. The circuit, as simple as it is, the layout is very easy, but drivers know that it's very technical, and each corner leads into the next. They go through this first corner over here, as you can see the lock up there, and now they've got to head into what's called the S's. They've got to line it up perfectly. It's what's called a sacrifice corner. You've got to give up the first section so that you can get a solid exit onto the sweep up ahead, which is actually flat out, as you can now hear them going down through that left-hander and now into hanger sweep. An iconic corner where the car goes very light and you could easily run wide, as we saw over there. And now into the hairpin section as Doghab gets some pressure applied through the hairpin. You want to get on the power as early as possible. We see Doe doing exactly that. Now through the dip, and this is a high G corner where drivers actually feel the G-force, but all of a sudden the car goes light. Then they go into this hairpin over here and across the finish line. And again, a very simple layout, but a very fun and technical, demanding, challenging track.
That's it, Doe unfortunately not getting the best corner exits, having to take a look. He's maybe looking to go on the outside, starts leaning on the middle of the circuit just to try and close in, but Damien van der Walt having the toe, slingshots past Doe, going and opening up wide, and unfortunately losing out of position. But Damien van der Walt just went and got that down to a T. He was more than happy with the slingshot, and that's a perfect move into turn one. A fantastic way to go and do an overtake. And once again, not taking too much of the curb, but in having a bit of a prancing horse. Going and losing out a little bit of pace though, so he is starting to get drawn back. Doe's starting to feel it. It's easier to chase than to go and try and run away. That's for certain in sim racing.
Oh yes, much easier. That's easier everywhere. I think it's just the mindset. You've got a target in front of you, and there are certain drivers, especially the greats, that thrive under the pressure of being chased. We see Daniel Rowe doing fantastically well as a pro race driver. I'm sure he would have been chased quite a bit on the circuit. So for him to be the one with the target on his back is not that big of a deal. But I am thinking about those pit stops. Who still needs to pit? I'd love to hear from our producer if we can find out who still needs to pit on this list over there, because there's only 15 minutes left. So it looks like the top three still need to pit. Lucchesi has already pitted. So if Lucchesi is able to get past Serradio, that means he could be in for a solid position. But the top three drivers still need to pit. Rowe Barkhuizen and Tristan de Nobrega still need to tuck into the pits.
So at the moment, if we talk about net first place, that would be Serradio followed by Lucchesi in second place. If that's a net for the guys to pit, but this is definitely going to change it up. I wonder if Daniel Rowe has been told that, listen, by his Team Hybrid Academy guys, listen, you need to pit, you need to get in there, and I'm sure they're going to be screaming their head off at him, telling him to go. Barkhuizen also probably is getting told, listen, you need to pit, you're running out of time. Tristan Norbringer he is now also getting that feedback saying, listen, you need to get in there. So the teammates are going to be shouting at the drivers, you need to pit. The drivers saying, why? I've still got plenty of time, I can keep going. And this is the type of battle that goes on with the teams and drivers. We saw it with the SAGT, where the team's having to really step up and tell the drivers what to do and force the drivers to get in the pits, because as drivers, you're not looking at the clock, you're waiting for the flag.
Yeah, waiting for the flag with 15 minutes to go. as Rowe still the leader. And now Barkhuizen and Denobriga within striking distance. But look at the gap between Denobriga and Seradio. And that is going to depend on how long that pit stop changes, where these guys will end up. I mean, it is currently the way it stands, but I don't think it's going to stay like this for very much longer. These guys are definitely going to be swapping around and swapping positions very soon. And I, for one, cannot wait for the pit stops to take place.
Well, we know a pit stop takes at least 41.2 seconds. At least. And that is cutting it fine. So let's see if they'll be able to be close enough with Seradio and Lucchesi to get a little bit closer. They need to try and work together to go and close down that distance. Make sure that they come ahead of the rest of the pack that are having to pit, so they can get that first second and then duke it out. So at this point, you got to start playing more of a technical game. It's, listen, these guys haven't pitted. So you need to try and work with one another to climb. So there's the little bit of technical aspect that comes into it. Even though it's an hour-long endurance race, and massive lockup from Luke Lucchesi, definitely not helping that right front at all.
Well, his tires would be absolute toast right now with all this time gone by. But Luke Lucchesi has pitted, in fact, so his tires should actually be good. I apologize. The top three guys, their tires, however, should be in a whole other league. 38 seconds to the leader and 1 second behind Seradio. This is for position we're watching on track at the moment. Luke Lucchesi with Seradio in front of him in that BMW. Both of them with their fair share of argy-bargy over the course of this race. Both of them pushing exceptionally hard. Luke Lucchesi having a massive off into turn 1 and 2, the S's over there with Doe earlier on. The two of them going 2 into 1, which never works. And now Luke Lucchesi finding himself in a position where he's got to attack, where before he had to defend.
Well, looking at the little correction that he's doing, I don't think he actually went and replaced tires. And I don't think Seradio replaced tires either. It was just more of a get fuel in and go. So they're also going to be starting to feel it. But I don't think they're going to be as hurt as Daniel Rowe, Barkhuizen and De Norbringer at this point.
That's a very good point there, Steve.
But Lucchesi is gaining a bit of ground, but the more he gains, the more that the aero is going to be coming off his nose. So he's going to have to rely on mechanical grip versus aero grip at this point.
Which he doesn't have.
Yeah. After having a bit of an argy-bargy session, I'm sure that he is feeling it a little bit more than most at this point.
Well, you were very right in saying earlier on that these guys are in for a splash and dash. They won't necessarily change tires. And if they didn't, yeah, you're right. They're running on the same old tires that they would have run on earlier on. And they are going to be feeling it. Now, someone's gone off there. That's one of the back markers, looks like it. And still the positions stay the same. Seradio and Lucchesi still staying the same. Look at Lucchesi getting it sideways there. Seradio feeling the pressure now. Labuskachli 1 lap down in 6th position. Van der Walt in 7th Kerper. And then Smith, Hillebrand, Luke and Gibson. And the number 7A car over there bringing up 13th position. But the eyes now currently all on the top 3. When will they pit? When will they go into the pits? The 3 of them should stay in the same positions if they get to the pit stops at the same time. But the number 4 and 5 will be watching on with absolute glee. 37 seconds the gap at the moment between Seradio and the leader.
Well, I think at this point they need to not worry about the cars in front. They need to concentrate on their race, because one little moment of loss of concentration, as we saw Seradio deciding he's going to do a little bit of drifting in the BMW, one little mistake can cost them the race. So they have to focus on hitting those apexes and getting those corner exits absolutely perfect. But Daniel Rowe really sliding around. He's still pushing hard in that car. He's missing the apexes though, so that really has something to tell. 10 minutes left of the race. He's still in first place, but he needs to dive into the pits. But you can see that Lamborghini is absolutely struggling at this point.
He is working those tires, and I'd love to see the moment when Daniel Rowe comes into the pits. He's absolutely working those tires, and you can see the rotation on the rear of that car, but the Team Benaldi car does seem to be working quite well for him. The pace is there, and we saw earlier on the gap was 37 seconds from Seradio to the leader, and the gap's pretty much staying the same. 37.4 seconds earlier, and 37.6, and now 37.7. So that means that that Daniel Rowe is still got the pace underneath him, even having not pitted, still running the same tires like most of the other drivers, I'm sure. But Daniel Rowe has got the pace to stay in the lead. It's all now down to that pit stop that he's going to need to take.
41.2 seconds minimum is needed to go and move forward. That's all he needs, 41.2 seconds. So 37 seconds is still going to drop him behind. He still will need to have to battle his way out. You can see that's probably what's going through his head. He's getting told, listen, you need to try and pull a gap. And there we go, starting to make it. He's on to 40 seconds, so he's managed to get away from Lucchesi, but it is going to be a challenging run. So
it's going to be close. It's going to be close.
It depends how hard you're going to hit the brakes to get in the pits, that's for certain. But Seradio at the moment is under massive pressure. You can see that tail end starting to slide out more and more on that BMW. It is starting to be very unforgiving for a rear-wheel drive, well, front-ended rear-wheel drive. You know it all too well.
Yeah, indeed. I spent some time yesterday with a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, and somebody's stuck in the wall there. We've got a BMW in the wall there as we go on board with Seradio. We've got Kyle Oosthuizen. I think that was Glashagen there in the wall. I'm not just confirming. No,
it was Arwen.
Okay, there was Arwen in the wall there. Apologies. And got Kyle Oosthuizen in the stream over here. Asking what happened to Luke. Well, Kyle, they came into turn 1 and Luke was on the inside. Then Rowe went along the outside, and Rowe was about halfway on the back of Luke. And as they came through the S's over here, what happened was they touched, and Luke went across Rowe into the tire barrier. Rowe then collided with Luke, and both of them were left on the side of the circuit. Rowe rejoined. Luke took a bit longer to rejoin, and now we're currently where we're at right now, with the top 3 drivers still having to pit. So for those of you guys that just joined us, I hope that clears up why the grid doesn't look anything like it did in qualifying and seeding the last couple of days.
Well, easiest way to say it. You fought for the same piece of tarmac, and unfortunately there had to be a loser somewhere. But it is going to be very interesting. And for guys joining, welcome to the Virtual SAGT. This is race number 1, and currently Do Gerber is pushing as hard as he can to catch up to the back of Damien van der Walt. He's actually starting to gain a little bit from what I can see, but Do playing a little bit of a long game. And knowing him as a fellow competitor, he's very good in pulling out a rabbit out of a hat. That's for certain. The Team Try Hard captain is really living up to the name. That's for certain.
Trying hard indeed is Do Gerber in 8th position. But it's not over yet. There's still some pit stops that need to take place. We've got 6 minutes and 15 seconds left. So no positions at this stage. At this stage of the game is guaranteed. No position is guaranteed at this stage. So the drivers with everything to play for have to stay in it to win it, man. You got to stay in it to win it. 6 minutes left doesn't mean it's over yet. So they still are definitely battling it out as we go on board with the Johan Labuschagne now in the Kessel Racing Ferrari over there. It's got a Porsche in front of him here. And there goes Rowe. There goes Daniel Rowe into the pits. Daniel Rowe goes into the pits, and he is followed there by what looks like Barkhuizen. And there goes Labuschagne. And Barkhuizen and Rowe are both in the pits. De Nobrega takes the lead. De Nobrega takes the lead. And let's cut to De Nobrega. But I think he still, too, needs to pit. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. With 5 minutes left to go, the order as it stood earlier on was totally different. The order was Daniel Rowe, Barkhuizen, De Nobrega, Seradio, and then Lucchesi. What will happen in the next couple of minutes? Rowe comes out in front of Barkhuizen for now. Barkhuizen leaving the pits. But that is not the battle we're looking at. The battle we're looking for is where Lucchesi will end up, where Seradio will end up, and where Rowe will slot in with them. We're going to see any second now. Looks like Rowe is still in front of them. De Nobrega still leads, and Rowe is still in second place. So that means De Nobrega needs to pit. De Nobrega needs to pit, and Rowe still leads us off. Unbelievable. What a short stop from Daniel Rowe there. And Daniel Rowe, it looks like he might have done enough.
Well, the one thing I'm just taking a look at, Damien van der Walt, who was driving in ahead of Do Gerber, disconnected by the looks of it. He looks like he had a mechanical failure of sorts and he's out. So he's dropping way down the field as well, but that was just all of a sudden. De Marbrigger in the pits now, he's going to lose out a bit of time. 20.9, is it going to be enough? Seradio is on that main straight, so you got cold tyres. Let's see how well you can defend.
Cold tires, warm tires, it doesn't make any difference now. Just few minutes left, 4 minutes, they've just got to circulate. But Daniel Rowe has somehow ended up at the top spot. And no surprises that he would be the winner, but not by how he did it. He certainly didn't do it the way we thought it would go down. And lots of action here. So Radio slides into view in third place. Lucchesi slotting into fourth place. The Nobriga in second position so far. Unbelievable turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. An unbelievable turn of events. I'm not too sure if anybody else needs to pit, but certainly a topsy-turvy and very unpredictable race one of the Virtual SAGT.
I think Daniel Rowe was sweating bullets there, that's for certain. Now he's ahead, but he's got the Nobringer starting to close him down. He's in second place at this point. Seradio's in third place. He's in for a podium for race number one, but now has the pressure of Lucchesi, who's constantly on his inside, constantly testing to see if he can take that inside line, which is forcing Seradio to try and go defensive. He's trying to hold that as tight as possible, but the tail is not working with him. So it's definitely a little bit of a push here. I think the BM's in for a bit of trouble. He needs to focus. He needs to start sweeping through the corners and stop going so defensive. You can see middle of the circuit once again, turns in, gets it nice and tight, but the tail keeps kicking out on that mighty BMW, and that's allowing the likes of Lucchesi to get closer and closer and closer.
It does seem to settle though after that initial movement. So it does move and then settle in afterwards. So I don't think the car's too much of a handful at this stage. He's clearly done enough laps in the car, but now Luke Lucchesi trying to come within striking distance. Luke Lucchesi is going to have a look down the inside at some stage with just 2 minutes left. Luke going for that podium position. He led most of this race earlier on. Definitely led for the most amount of laps, and now finds himself in a position where he's fighting for a podium down through the S's.
That's it, and I see yellow flag, so keeping an eye on sector one, but I think that might be, yes, that is Jason Gibson, who's parked off in the tyre wall. Something's gone off on that Lamborghini, so he is having a bit of a rough time. But yellow flag, that's going and psychologically making the drivers have a bit of a rough time. You get told yellow flag, you're looking for the accident, meanwhile it's blocked away off of the circuit.
Exactly, and that's a little bit distracting. Still yellow flag in sector one, so if Gibson could maybe move that car, that'd be wonderful, but only 1.5 minutes left, maybe not. Down into the hairpin we go, on board now with Luke Lucchesi. Luke Lucchesi's got his eyes set firmly on Seradio, but Seradio, no stranger, keeping up the pace, and Seradio so far keeping up the pace much better. And we're just speaking of much better, I just heard the audio setup was finally working properly. Yeah, we got that all figured out. Thanks for the heads up in the stream, guys. We appreciate that feedback. Luke Lucchesi still trying to fight for first place, but I think the checkered flag is about to come out. We are seconds away from the final lap of this race, and Luke Lucchesi now needs to either settle for the fourth place or try and push very hard. He doesn't want to make a mistake. He doesn't have Barkhuizen too close behind him though. Barkhuizen is a full few seconds behind him, and there you go, Jason Gibson stuck in the tires, and that is why the flag is flying in sector one.
Definitely a bit of a distraction there, but I think something might have gone a little bit awry with his Simrig. That was going and battling it out, but you could see Luke Lucchesi doing everything he can. That tail of the Ferrari, fishtailing, I think pushing it that little bit harder every single time, trying to go for the position, is actually costing him more than actually gaining. So he needs to just settle down. He needs to try and get back into that rhythm. Stop trying to force the move, and you might get a little bit closer. But Daniel Rowe has just been, he pulled a strategy that I wouldn't have expected, to be honest.
Unbelievable. I don't know how he still managed to stay ahead. I'll rewatch that section again, because they clearly didn't lose too much time. They clearly had time in hand, and Daniel Rowe really driving the wheels of this car, rotating it with absolute ease around its center axis. Not an easy car to do it in, I would imagine, a Lamborghini, as he squeezes on the brakes there. These cars are all over the place. They are suffering a lot with tire degradation. Here comes Daniel Rowe now, Is the flag going to be out for Daniel Rowe? Looks like it is. That goes across the line and takes the flag, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Rowe wins the first round of the SAGT Virtual Edition. And what a surprise. The man that drove the car the other day could see himself driving it again. Of course, that's one of the prizes up for grabs in this Virtual SAGT round. And a successful first round, albeit controversial, comes to a close, ladies and gentlemen, right here at the seaside city of Port Elizabeth, Aldo Scribante circuit.
Definitely a bit of fun. Then we've got Tristan de Norbringer in second place, followed by Seradio, who battled it out in the mighty BMW. So well done to him.
Well done to him.
And
well
Luke
done.
Jersey up in fourth place. And, you know, nice recovery from where he was. I have to give him that.
Parker's in the pits. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Okay, de Norbringer also in the pits. So they've obviously jumped to pits. They've jumped to pits. That's Ethan Smith over there across the line and parked it. But your winner is Daniel Rowe, followed by de Norbringer. Seradio doing very well. I think as far as a pressure drive goes, well done from Seradio over there. He found himself getting massive pressure. He started off in 6th position, but ends off in 3rd. Johan Labuschagne started off in 4th position, ends up in 6th over there. Tristan de Norbringer, one of the big winners over here, in 2nd position, finds himself in 2nd place. I mean, Tristan has to be one of the biggest winners here from qualifying, jumping from outside of the top 10 into 2nd position. Frankly, unbelievable.
That's it, in 61 laps down, very, very close to what the SAGT cars did. So very fantastic to see
exactly
how
down
the
to
cars
61 laps completed.
So it's absolutely fantastic to see how close the guys have built this track virtually, so we're able to race it. But unfortunately, a couple of did not finishes here. Jason Gibson, Damien van Walt, Kurt Glashuisen, Machego, and Van Rooyen also getting out of it. So a little bit of mechanical failures there. Hopefully they'll be able to get those cars up and going for race number 2. But people are still learning. It's still teething problems. Yeah. This is a sim that's not really used in SA. It's used all over the world. It's glad to see the guys starting to get a little bit better and improve and start learning of how to get a little bit faster in a new sim. Trying out new waters to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's sink or swim when it comes to these waters sometimes. And someone that certainly hasn't sunk down to the bottom.
The 2022 season is upon us, and South Africa finally has an FIA-approved GT3 series. 6 rounds, 12 races, including the prestigious Kyalami 9-hour. The fastest South African drivers will compete on equal terms, thanks to a complex system called balance of performance. Before each round, there will be an almost identical virtual round. This is South African GT racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's what your podium looks like. And before we get to the podium, of course, none of this would have been possible without our sponsors. You can see them on the screen over there, making all of this possible. In 3rd place, Andrew Seradio. A fantastic performance from him over there. I mean, just look at that. Andre Seradio, I apologize. And 3rd position, starting off in 6th place and making his way up to 3rd. Tristan de Norbringer, the big winner here, all the way from outside of the top 10 and somehow managing to finish in 2nd place. I mean, just that is just fantastic performance from him. But the winner of this event, and there can be only one, is Daniel Rowe, the Works VW driver that finds himself now behind the wheel of a Lamborghini in the virtual world and in real life. And this time a fantastic performance as well, getting the win in, some might say, a controversial move. I'd love to hear his feedback on that move. We're waiting for Daniel Rowe to join us in the virtual commentary booth over here, and when he does, we'll get all that inside information, the juicy details of what exactly happened. We've got P2 now, Tristan Den Obriger. Tristan, are you here with us, my friend?
How's it going? Yes, I'm here.
Lekker, man. What happened and how did you manage to get into second position?
Yeah, so that was quite an eventful race. Unfortunately, yesterday I couldn't do quali because I was at the Rock National in Vereniging and I only flew home last night. So yeah, started at the back of the grid, and first time ever racing on R Factor, so it was interesting just to try and get all my telemetry figures right and the pit stop right and all that. But yeah, I got a decent start. Down into turn one, unfortunately I got overtaken, so I was last, but just managed to just pick off the position slowly. I think I had a decent setup on the car that allowed me to just pull my overtakes off coming out the last corner and down the straight. And yeah, there were some incidences that happened, which is normal. This track is super tight. I mean,
that's the least.
It's a bit of a crazy one, but yeah, happy to walk away with P2 in the end, and had lots of fun. So I think that's the main thing.
Well, Tristan, you've got an extensive experience. You said you went to the Rock Nationals, you've raced single-seaters before, you've been around PE many times. From your perspective, what's the circuit like, and what was the sim like to adapt to, especially coming from ACC and other sims?
R Factor does a good job in the sense that they've got all the South African tracks. For PE, I'd say it's a good mold of the real track in the sense of the feeling and all that. I'd just say it's a bit too tight. I feel the real track is a little bit wider and you have more space, especially going to turn one. You can run side by side there, where here it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then in terms of curb usage as well, obviously in the real thing you can run curbs where here you can't even touch it. So
we saw that as well. We saw it. But you must be ecstatic. I mean, cool head. Do you feel you were dialed in from yesterday's karting event?
Honestly, it's such a different discipline. Yes, real racing does help you in terms of racecraft and stuff when it comes to sim racing, but at the same token, sim racing is its own discipline completely, different techniques to use and all kinds of stuff. So yes and no, in terms of yes, dialed in on the racecraft, but no, not dialed in on the driving sense. And these cars are a handful. Hey?
Is it? It looks like it.
Swing properly this race. It was crazy. So yeah,
it looks like it.
Keeps you on your toes.
Because I quite like cars that are handfuls like that. Steve, anything from your side for the man that's on the second spot of the podium all the way from the back of the grid?
So Tristan, I want to ask, game plan for race number 2. You're starting to cool off now. I'm sure you got a little bit of a shaky hand or two, and now it's to concentrate. What's the sort of mind frame that you have to go into heading into race number 2, knowing that it's not over just yet? You scored some points, but you need to do it all over again.
Yeah, so I think the mentality now is just to reset, take the positives from race 1. Like I said, the setup seems to work. Pit stops, I managed to do that okay as well, first time, so that all looks good. The other thing that obviously will be different is for this race, they take, I think, your fastest lap time. And I think just having a quick squiz, I think I got the second fastest lap time. So yeah, I'll be starting on the front row in P2, so obviously that's a completely different mentality coming from the back. So hopefully try and get in the lead, if not just try and hold position and yeah, take it lap by lap and see how it goes.
So rehydrate, take a bite to that sandwich and get going once again.
Yes, sir.
Like a great plan. Well, absolutely fantastic.
A fantastic performance, Tristan Rodriguez, one of the drives of the day for sure. But man, can you believe now he finds himself from the back of the grid, he finds himself in second position, potentially, once the dust settles for race number 2, as we wait for Daniel Rowe to join us. And Daniel Rowe is our winner of this race so far. We got Andre Serradio coming in first. Andre Andretti Serradio is what they call him. And Andre, how was your race today? A little bit eventful, I would imagine.
Eventful is like an understatement. Yeah, I was not expecting like to do this well because I was having troubles with like tire wear, and then I got into the tussle with the Porsche for quite a few laps actually. But then yeah, we got into a little bit of a tangle and he spun out. But I managed to keep my head clean, or my head clear, and then we just keep pushing.
Yeah, but you had some immense pressure from the ex-leader of the race, Luke Lucchesi. What was that like seeing Luke in the rearview mirrors there? Because both of you guys were slipping and sliding around trying to keep the cars on the circuit at that stage.
Yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking when he like you see in the rearview mirror just him closing the door or closing the gap to me, and I was panicking a bit, but it was just trying to find which corners he was slower than and like kind of capitalize on that. So you just had to keep your mind clear.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what you did. What are your thoughts going into the next race? Now it's all about times and where you're going to be. You started 6th over here. You ended up on the podium. What are your thoughts going into race 2 now? You can't, normally the adrenaline dump sort of happens now and you kind of just sit down in your couch and it's all over. But that can't happen now. You guys have another race coming up.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm just trying to keep like a clean race and like trying to learn from what I could do better from race 1 and kind of just go from there. No like a idea of where I'm finishing, but let's just have fun.
Let's have fun indeed. Here we go, second race coming pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your 3rd place man over there doing very well to hold off the favorite Luke Lucchesi, and Andre Serradio doing exceptionally well to hold off Luke Lucchesi over there. I mean, what a fantastic performance. And we've got Daniel Rowe joining us now. Daniel, how was that race for you? There was some controversy going into turn 1. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on what happened was there.
Yeah, it was a great race. The pity my teammate Bago had a slight problem with his wheel just before the start. But yeah, I enjoyed the race. I just tried to look after the tires. That was an unfortunate incident. I was around the outside. Eventually, he just ran me out of space. I was trying to back out of it, but it was a bit too late. So
yeah,
I think I was well enough next to him. It is what it is. We carried on racing. And the only problem in this sim was once you're on the grass, you're a passenger, so it's
turbo grass is the real thing in the sim by the looks of things.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like the wet grass in the real life thing. So.
And that's such a terrible feeling, especially when you're going backwards on wet grass. It's insane. You've now spent a lot of time in the real world. You spent a lot of time in the sim world, and now if this season goes like this, you could spend even more time in a Lamborghini or similar. What was you are in a very unique position to answer the question, what was this PE race like versus the PE race from a couple of days ago?
Obviously the real thing is much better. Yeah, the way the Lambo handles in real life is quite spectacular. It's a very unique race car compared to anything I've driven. So yeah, I just went with Lambo in the Virtual SAES GT just for fun and because I felt more comfortable in that car. But yeah, I think there's some similarities. Obviously, it's never going to be the same, but the sims definitely get them fairly close.
Yeah. So going into the next race, the grid will be decided on the fastest lap. Anybody specifically that you're going to be watching out for going to the next race? It's not over yet, and you also have been in this situation before where it's race 1, you peak, you got to relax, and then it's race 2, you got to peak again. What are your thoughts going into the second race, and who are you watching out for?
Well, I didn't push too hard to get a fast lap because I actually forgot that your lap counts for the start of race 2. So, but then I just decided, let me look after the tires. So I see there are quite a few guys that took tires and they're starting near the front, and the others like Luke and Tristan got nice hot laps in the race itself. So I think they're going to be further up the front. Tristan is probably someone to look out for. His pace looked quite good in race 1, and now he starts, I think, front row.
Yeah.
But yeah, Luke, all the others as well, they all seem very racy. Bernard Barkhuizen was quite quick. I monitored his gap with me and it was staying fairly similar, so he's also someone to watch out for.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on a fantastic performance. You came, the racing was insane to watch. Very, very exciting. Some people are asking how you managed to get through a single set of tires and do the whole race on one set of tires. And that pit stop strategy was just a masterclass. So well done, Daniel Rowe.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I was the only one to not take tires. But yeah, congrats to everyone. It was a great race. Looking forward to race 2.
Looking forward indeed. Steve, any final words from you?
I want to find out, Daniel, you have had a rivalry with Tristan Norbringer, Luke Lucchese, in a variety of different sims. Is it reignited now right here in the Virtual GT?
Yeah, well, any other team or competitor that's fighting myself or my team near the front is a rival. So
I love it.
We were racing them in iRacing in the Refined League, the Refined Racing League, and they're very quick there as well. Tristan was in ACC for a little while, from what I remember, and now we're in R Factor. They both seem racy. But we also racy, so bring it on.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love the attitude. I love the spice. We're looking forward to it. A fantastic performance. We are going to be going to a break soon in preparation for the next race. But Steve, any final words from you as to what just transpired there? That was really spectacular to watch.
Honestly, it was an interesting learning curve, if I can put it that way. I've just gone back and I looked at it. So Daniel Rowe had 29 seconds in the pits, which means he was just able to eke it out. But is he going to be able to do it come race number 2? Is the adrenaline, as you put it, starting to wear down? The guys have to try and refocus at this point. Have they pushed it a little bit too far? And remember, a lot of the guys that had mechanical failures, unable to get going, they're going to be doing everything they can to come into race number 2. So it is going to increase once again. It's going to be a little bit more competitors, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Is there going to be a change of plan? Because they saw whether the first one didn't quite work out as well, and see if they can change it up. I mean, it's exciting. This is a new sim for everyone.
So we are going to cut to some ads, and we will be back later, folks, for the second race of the day. Of course, today is comprised of 2 races at the Port Elizabeth circuit. Aldo Scribante, the stream will continue. The stream will stay open, and we will be showing you guys footage from the real race until we start with race 2 of this, the Virtual SAGT, powered by ATK, Africa Race Together, Michelin, Fast Racing Fuels, Toys R Us, SAGT, and of course, Motorsport South Africa.
Welcome to Africa's first ROG arena.
Hello and welcome to the post-race show. My name is Kriya Gangia and joining me is Ernest Page from the beautiful city of PE.
Beautiful indeed, and the racing itself was beautiful too. And we're going to jump straight into round 3 of the SAGT to see exactly what happened.
All the way through practice, the times tumbled lower and lower, till Arnold Arie set the fastest time of 56.995, the snatch pole ahead of Michael Stephen by half a second. Aldo Scribante suffered mechanical problems in his Lambo, so chairman and founder Isak Spies stepped aside so the local favourite could compete along Stephen in the McLaren. Aranjis bolted away from the chasing pack and built up a significant lead over a high-speed train of cars headed by Michael Stephen. As the pro drivers jostled, it was Dane Angel who managed to sneak by thanks to his sister Pro-Am Ferrari, causing some confusion onto the main straight. Silvio Scribante then decided to dive into the pits for an early stop. Into clear air, he leapfrogged his rivals and managed to stay ahead of Dane Angel and VW Works driver Daniel Rowe. When Stephen pitted and Aldo Scribante took over, Angel, in spite of running with 75 kilograms of success ballast, surged into third as Aldo got to grips with his unfamiliar McLaren, having had just one sighting lap on the way to the grid. Marcel Angel drove a solid race, having not competed for 2 years, claiming 5th ahead of Rowe and Chelsea Scribante, putting him first in the Pro-Am class. It didn't come easy though, with the Aldo Angel and Marius Jackson running nose to tail for multiple laps, until Marius spun his Audi R8, a new car he's still getting to grips with. Jackson's woes elevated Hein Lateghan's BBR Racing Porsche into 7th place, having started from the back of the grid due to mechanical issues in qualifying. Son Moodley arrived with a shiny new Mercedes AMG GT, this front-engine monster different to the rear-engine Porsches he's used to. In the end, it was Aranjis who took the checkered flag, 26 seconds ahead of Silvio, who managed to pip the hard-charging Dane Angel.
A strong performance from Aranjis and Leveling as they came up with those top honours.
And Aldo Scribante said he felt like a lady of the night, jumping in his 3rd car for the weekend.
Yes, now as we prepared for round 4, that means a success ballast of 75 kilograms were given to Aranjis and Leveling.
The race 2 grid is formed from drivers' fastest lap times in race 1. So Neveling, taking the first stint, lined up on pole, followed by the rest of the grid. Chelsea Scribante swapped driving partners and was now partnered with Darren Goodmans, himself no stranger to fast rear-wheel drive race cars. With fuel spilling out of Marcel Angel's car, the pace car peeled into the pits, but it was Neveling who put the Stradale Audi into the lead, but not without some resistance from Silvio Scribante. Dane Angel started muscling his way past early, and he would continue to do so throughout the race. 20 minutes into the hour-long race, Stephen and Silvio made the slightest of contact, sending Silvio into the dirt. Dane Angel tried as he might, couldn't get past Stephen's McLaren, who was suffering a slow puncture thanks to his earlier altercation, and it proved a masterful move as Dane dipped into the pits early to try for the undercut. Jackson, Marcel, Angel and Goodmans had a huge fight over the opening 20 laps of the race before Angel got ahead of the MJR Audi. The pit stops turned the lead fight on its head. Dane Angel set the pace and ended up ahead of Neveling Aranji's Audi to take first place. Silvio Scribante came home 3rd ahead of Stephen, Marcel Angel and the Chelsea Scribante Goodmans Lambo.
Yeah, I think the effect was smaller than everybody thought. I think it was purely a case of our other competitors just finding pace out of the blue, you know. I'm quite proud with what we did. You know, I think we had a solid stint. The pit stop was really good. When Charles got in the car, he put in a massive stint as well. So I think from our side, we really gave it our all. There wasn't more to give from our side. Yeah, the time showed that our pace is really good. Fortunately for me, I had the fresh tyres, which gave me the opportunity to push for such a good time. But again, it just showed that you know, the whole package this weekend was really strong, really good.
It's the dream start for us. I mean, we missed the first round, but yeah, luckily with this championship, we having able to be throwing away around. So yeah, we're right in it now. So no, we're happy with that. Yeah, look, there's always pressure on us. I think we are the measure of the whole field. We've always got a target on our back. It doesn't matter when, where. So you know, having won the championship last year, obviously the target is squarely on our back. And I think me and Ari this year, we have a formidable package. It's you know, I'm the first to say I'm not always the quickest, but you know, it's fun to have Ari with me and we being able to push each other. You know, I think in a way I'm making him quicker, just like he's making me quicker. So you know, end of the day, we push each other and it's good. It's it makes for fun on the track as well. You know, bringing in younger, fresher faces. So that's Stradale's aim.
Yeah, we've had an absolutely fantastic day. You know, the team worked and they ran the cars faultlessly. So big kudos to them. They did a fantastic job. I think Dane to win the pro section was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, for us to get a double win, if you want to call it, in the second race of the day was fantastic. Very happy. The next race, Dane will be carrying the 75 kilos ballast. I'll also be carrying ballast in the next race as well. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why it gets mixed up quite a bit, you know, when we don't always have the same winner all the time. And that is the whole purpose of the balance of performance. So it seems to be working pretty well. Personally, I think it's too much. I think the weights are too much, but you know, that's something we'll discuss and hopefully try and sort out in the near future.
There are already 18 drivers scoring championship points at this stage of the race, with Neveling and Aranjis being the two big winners so far.
And rumour has it that our current championship leader, Dane Angel, won't be joining us at the next race.
But now it's time to look at what was one of the most exciting races I've ever seen, the 4 hours of PE.
And it always proves to have great action when your championship leaders, Botma and Kruger, start from the back of the pack.
The South African endurance race was plagued with drama. Pre-race favourites Rian Botma and Jeffrey Kruger had engine failure. This meant they had to start from the back of the grid. Undaunted, the team arranged for their spare engine to be driven overnight from Pretoria. Within 2 hours, the engine was in, but that would not be the end of their woes. Another firm favourite, the Tavares Lategan 911 Cup, broke a side shaft in Friday's practice. The team flew in a replacement component which arrived at the circuit at 8 AM on race day. With both favourites starting near the back, it was young Kwanda Mokoena who started out in pole, with Sun Moodley in a shiny new AMG GT alongside. When the lights went out, it was a furious rush to the first corner, where Sun Moodley unfortunately spun out in the Mercedes. He did go on to run the first hour of the race and completed 55 laps. Botma climbed the ranks faster, snatching the lead from Mokoena's Mia's GT4 Audi after just 4 laps, with Tavares in the Porsche quickly making his way up to third. One of the fastest cars on the mixed grid was the backdraft slingshot of Mike McLaughlin and Steve Clark. The pair led for a period, but power steering issues meant that Lategan would later snatch the lead. Endurance racing is a race of attrition, but that didn't stop the Class E backdrafts from racing each other like it was a sprint race. Inside the cars, it wasn't all roses and champagne for many of the teams though. Mayer, Walson, Harvey were forced to nurse the car's brakes and suffered a puncture along the way. Harm and Baron Pretorius had a strong performance run to 6th overall. A minor off wasn't their only problem though.
Looks like I drove over my son's foot. Now he's got a sore foot, I think, but I think he's all right. At least he's driving well, so I think it's all right.
Ellison and Radloff were running low on fuel, but a stellar drive from both drivers made sure they ended up in first of the backdrafts and 4th overall. Cape Townians David and Roberto Franco with Danny van Nicke qualified their Graphic Supply World Volkswagen Polo Super Cup to first in Class D with a smooth, consistent performance. Benjamin and Christian Morgenroot had legend Ben Morgenroot in the car with them, but were plagued with mechanical issues all weekend. They did, however, finish the race in a respectable 4th in class. Brian and Tony Martin drove a great race in the backdraft until the prop shaft donut broke, which cost half an hour to fix, dropping the backdraft founders to 12th overall. After a torturous 4 hours for some, Hein Lategan and Tavares brought the BBR 911 across the line closely, followed by Steve Clark and Mike McLaughlin. Mokoena and Mia brought home the GT4 in 3rd and took 1st in Class C, with Ellison and Radloff taking the hotly contested Class E honours.
Fantastic week, fantastic 3-4 days. We had some drama yesterday or day before. Managed to get the car ready. The car ran beautifully thanks to our team and obviously Hein's performance. I started, he finished. It was a perfect weekend, and being back in PE, it was lovely. I love this track. Both of us like the track, and number one is always a great thing to achieve.
The car ran perfectly. I mean, he did a great first stint. He got the car from the back of the grid up to 3rd, and then I mean it was a long stint. I had to do 2 hours 15 minutes. So I think we're going to be stiff in a day or two's time, but it was a great drive. We'll still do Pakisa with this car, and then hopefully, if everything goes well in East London, we hope to have a new one.
Yeah, it was tactics. The pace was very fast in the beginning. We chased, and then we said, nah, let's use our head a bit. Then Chris put a fantastic middle stint in, and that put us in a position to play the tactics at the end. And it was literally touch and go. All three of us could have run out of fuel. One of them capitulated and did an early pit stop, which gave us a little bit of time, but still, we had the reserve light on for the last 20 minutes. On the radio, they were screaming, come, pit lane's going to close, do a stop go. But we rolled the dice, and well, we drove the car down the pit lane, so that's good. All these races are really it's a 1 hour race that takes you 3 hours to get to the start of it. So you got to pace and get yourself in the right position for the last stint, and we did that. But 3 other guys did as well. All three of us were together in the start. We were all together at the end, and I think a bit of luck played our part, because the other guys got a puncher. They had to change a wheel or something, and that gave us some breathing space. Otherwise, they should have won it. They were quicker on pace overall. But I think that's Backdraft's idea, which we all support. So of the cars that are identical spec, Class E Backdraft production cars, the idea is the tactics and the driver and how you can set the car up. And I think we're getting it there. There's been hiccups along the way, but Red Star was also the same thing. Red Star was very close. We got the victory by a very small margin at Red Star, and yeah, it was 30 seconds at the end, but could have been 30 seconds the other way. Yeah. Everyone in the series is good. There's hundreds of good drivers, so we'll do our best, but everyone else does their best, and that's what racing's about. Eh? At the end of the day, we had fun. We're smiling at the end. That's what it's for, so thanks to everyone.
Yeah, great race, great team. Thanks so much to Colin for the ride. Normally the mechanic helping, but today I was lucky enough to be in the seat, and yeah, can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it was an awesome day. My partner here, he drove like a champion, right? Many seconds quicker than me every lap, and I'm so happy to be part of his team, and really, very quickly, thank you to the organizers, to Isak, Kolile, Wayne for putting it together, Eric as well, I know behind the scenes, yourself, Kriya, running up and down the pit lane the whole day. Thank you very much for that, right? I think the spectators, thank you to them, and all the fellow competitors, the guys in the Cobras put on a great show. We had the Porsche, we had the Polo, the Ligier, unfortunately had a bit of trouble, but I think anybody who finished this race, we are all the winners for today, for sure. And thanks to my family's support back home, we really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you PE for having us, and we look forward to coming back soon.
Yes. Thank you to everyone who made this possible. The atmosphere today was incredible. Seeing all the spectators and fans has made it so much better. And it's also Tanko Mo for bringing the car home and being the best co-driver.
Thank you, son. Thank you.
It just shows that anything can happen now that Ellison is leading the championship in a backdraft.
Especially considering that Lategan, Tavares and Mokoena have confirmed their participation for the rest of the series.
Don't forget, this weekend is the SA Virtual GT, also happening right here in PE.
So for myself, Kriya Gangia and Ernest Page, we'll see you just before the race in the Free State. But for now, we're closing with a few words from co-founder Isak Spies.
Yeah, I think in terms of planning, and I think of what came together here, the organizing, the officials, just the track. I want to say thank you to PE, for a wonderful event. It looked like the public supported us, and it just came together. And I mean the weather, it's fantastic. So we have no wind. PE is full of wind, but we have no wind. So what a pleasure. I think it came out for us very well. We're very happy. Thank you for the public of PE for supporting us, and I can only say thank you.
Where I come from, I was brought up with a principle that says we must lift as we rise.
There's a lot of young talent in South Africa, and you get those guys to actually giving them an opportunity.
Let's find children that have talent that could make it in this league. I can come in and make a difference for people that were like me that could not ordinarily have made it up here. That is my only motive.
Gentlemen drivers are there to have fun.
We don't do this for a living. We don't earn money out of it. We're driven purely by passion.
Race cars is in my blood.
The fairness in the sport came in, where we then leveled the playing field.
We're on same terms, we're on same everything. Now you have to perform.
I'm hoping in that way that we will open a door in motorsport that the world can come and consider us.
All the cars will perform exactly the same. It's all up to the driver.
But once they get on the track, I tell you, they go full out.
When you sit back in that seat and you put your hands on the steering and you just look at this thing and you just go, wow.
You put the helmet on, everything changes. But when the checkered flag drops, we all know what the deal is.
This is the type of racing that South Africa needs, GT Racing needs, GT3, GT4, and of course the GT Open that we're doing. No one thought that we, as a bunch of gentleman drivers, could actually put something together, and here we are.
We've pulled it off. We've managed to put in the first race of GT3 cars owned by South Africans in our soil, doing it the right way.
And for the future, this is where we're going to
go. We were bold enough to do it.
And here we go, folks. This is the second race of the day, and an unusual event we find ourselves in right now, where the drivers have to go through the motions of doing a highly competitive round one and then take a small break and come back and do it all over again. I'm joined as always by Stephen Kernick, the man on the mic over there. Stephen, what a fantastic first race. And I think the drivers and spectators are waiting with bated breath to see what happens next. So Radio, all the drivers that performed so well now have it all to play for in one more round. They got to get focused and zoned in.
Absolutely. And while we were taking the break, I got to have a chat to a couple of drivers to get a little bit of their thoughts of how they're going to improve. Team Tryhard looking to try and change up a strategy. Johan Bego Krobler is going to be jumping back in. They were frantically working on, so it looks like that Daniel Rowe's teammate might be getting in to give him a little bit of backup. So it's going to be very interesting how it all works out. You know, now it's race 2. Now it's on the cards. You have to score maximum points for the championship. Everything's on the line. You've got to think of the long game now.
You've got to think of the long game, and we've also got to think about load shedding. Unfortunately, the power goes out at 2 o'clock, so we've got to get the show on the road. I've even messaged the guys on YouTube in case some of the guys were just watching the stream over there. Yeah, all admiring your cute profile pic over there, Stephen. But we got to get going because at 2 o'clock the show has to absolutely end. So the second race is going to kick off very shortly, and we're going to have to move through the proceedings a little bit faster than we did in race 1.
That's it. I'm not as photogenic as you, that's for certain, but definitely I've got a face for radio in that regard. But
I don't agree at all. I don't agree at all. I just use Photoshop and a good photographer, and
but I think it's going to be fantastic to see these guys going out. It's all to play for. I think we're going to see the guys taking a little bit more carefully now. They've got a bit of an understanding of how the sim works. The adrenaline has worn through. It's now all about thinking, and maybe we're going to see guys a little bit more lax. I think Daniel Rowe is going to be in a little bit of a difficult situation at this point because he's going to be at the front of the field, but not quite all the way there. So he's got to try and play it safe a little bit now, and he knows where the limitations of his car is, where the others can push a little bit further, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the grid looks like for this race because it's going to be based on the fastest times from race 1. So drivers yesterday had to do a qualifying sessions, and then the drivers then had to set their fastest lap time in the race, and that lap time is going to determine the grid. We are seconds out from the parade lap, so we are about to get going. We're about to do our first opening lap so that we can get these guys lined up and ready to go racing at the beautiful Aldo Scribante circuit. And we got some feedback from drivers like Tristan that have done some real world racing, and Tristan Denobriga said that the circuit is almost exactly the same, bar a few small changes like curbs and width a little bit, but this is what the circuit looks like, and that is what your starting order looked like. Johan Labuskaghni gets onto pole position after starting 4th in the previous race. Tristan Denobriga on the front row of the grid with him. Damian van der Walt in 3rd. Luke Lucchesi all the way down in 5th place, and Daniel Rowe, the winner, in 7th position. So this is almost like some sort of a weird reverse grid, which is going to put a lot of people on the back burner. Cisse Shaba is back as well. Andre Hillebrand also back in the mix. So it's nice to see these guys back in on form. Doukhab brings up the rear. So you've got 15 drivers on the grid. Doukhab unfortunately was running a little bit behind schedule, so has to slot in all the way at the back there, joined by JC Krobler in 14th position and Tiaan van Rooyen in 13th place.
Krobler now getting his steering wheel up and going once again, so it's going to be grand. Daniel Rowe's teammate is now back in play, so let's see how this is all going to work out. But now Daniel Rowe's got a bit of work. He's not used to starting way down the field. He's used to being right at the front, so I think it's going to be a fun time to see where these top runners are going to be as they make their way around the circuit. Final corner. This is where it all has the start of the fun to go.
Yeah, this fun is about to begin. Labuskaghni and Denobriga on the front row of the grid there. this is going to be a slightly different look to what we saw earlier on Seradio in that blue BMW. Watch out for him. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Blomskachny, De Nobrega, Tristan in the mix there. Lucchesi also in the mix. Down to the first corner they go. And looking back now from Johan Labuschaghni's car, he goes wide. He's not going defensive. Oh, almost gets a touch there from De Nobrega in second place. And Lucchesi and Seradio battling it out there in third position. We've got Krobla at the back there, and we're looking for Daniel Rose. Also worked his way out. That's Daniel Rose there next to Seradio this time. So Daniel Rose worked his way all the way up into the field, and the racing has already kicked off in a big way.
Also, it looked like there was a bit of a contact at the back with
contact in front there. Contact right in front there. The two lead cars touch there, and there does. Oh, and the same thing happened to Rose this time with Seradio. This time the roles reversed, and Seradio has to move all the way back. He touches what looks like one of the Ferraris over there. That could be Hillebrand. And Seradio and Hillebrand tussling there, and all the while Daniel Rowe working his way all the way up to fourth position.
This is definitely turning into a bit of a tussle. Guys going door to door with one another, not something you want to do early on in the race. Yes, the cars can take a little bit more of a beating than they used to, but not quite where you want to go.
Well, Lucchesi now finding himself in a similar position early on. He's got Rowe chasing him down, but this time he's not in first position. This time he is in third position, but he is applying massive pressure to Labuschaghni, and De Nobrega now finds himself in first. Justin De Nobrega in first place. The Cape Town local does karting, single-seater racing, and many other forms of motorsport from a prestigious motorsport family and background. Now finds himself in first position as Seradio tries to thread his way through the field once again.
Seradio is actually just trying to lay as much pressure on, but he's constantly putting his nose onto the rear of the cars. I don't think that's going to be helping him, and he's going to be under the steward's watch at this point. So he's got to be very careful. I wonder if, with that first start, as the redness started to come down and he's starting to feel it, that Luke Lucchesi looking up the inside.
Yeah, Luke Lucchesi looking up the inside, and there he goes down the inside. Oh, once again, Luke Lucchesi down the inside has a tussle, and now he's got Daniel Rowe at the same spot right behind him. Luke Lucchesi and Daniel Rowe, and Luke feeling the pressure now. He doesn't want Rowe behind him again, I'm sure. He doesn't want Rowe behind him again, and now on board with Daniel Rowe, who is chasing down the hard charging Lucchesi, trying to apply the pressure on Labuschaghni. Daniel Rowe running really wide there. Now coming into the hairpin section. Just listen to the sound of this Lamborghini. 0.4 seconds behind as the dust gets kicked up by the Ferrari up ahead. The Lamborghini not skipping a beat at this stage, but De Nobrega is managing to skip his way into the distance.
That V12 really working, or V10, sorry, working incredibly hard to try and catch up. De Nobrega doing the absolute best time of a 58.4 at the moment. We're going to see that starting to come down as they all get used to the tires are warming up and the drivers are getting back into it. But you could see still trying to sort themselves out.
Yeah, still trying to sort themselves out, and that's what they're going to be trying to do for the next little bit. I think the first couple of laps are going to be the laps where they shuffle each other out, and that's what happens when you've got sort of a reverse grid setup like we do over here. This is not normal. This is not what we normally see in motorsport, but I do quite like this format of not so much a reverse grid, but definitely a swap around from the previous outing we saw in round one.
Now, do you think they have to try and figure out how they're going to move through the field? You've got to have to think a little bit further ahead. You know your tires are going to drop off a cliff, and it's going to be a very interesting look at it. So, Ernest, I mean, they're fighting tooth and nail now, which is a repeat of what we saw in race one. Do you think, with the current events that are happening, are they pushing it a little bit too hard?
I think so. I think they're going to be pushing it on. I think certain drivers want to get out in front. We saw that now. You got Lucchesi, Rowe, a lot of Seradio as well, all trying to fight their way to the front because they've been put in disadvantageous positions. So De Nobrega, the big winner over here, finds himself in first place with Labuschaghni now falling further and further back on the side of the road there. Labuschaghni now 3.5 seconds back. Lucchesi takes second place. Lucchesi has taken second place. So while all this was happening, it looks like Lucchesi snuck ahead, and now Labuschaghni finds himself under pressure from Daniel Rowe.
Lucchesi was more than happy just to put his nose in and run away, and he's actually put quite a decent gap between himself. He's trying to get away from Daniel Rowe as quick as possible, but Labuschagne is definitely feeling a huge amount of pressure from the raging bull of Daniel Rowe. Daniel's very good into turn one, but will he try and make it count this time? A little bit too far back. He's a little bit more cautious, if I could say that. He's not going for those major jumps like we saw in race one. Still trying to maybe get used to it, or maybe trying to preserve his tires a little bit longer.
Yeah, the strategies have not been ironed out yet. These drivers are all trying to figure out what exactly and how exactly to figure out their strategies for the entire duration of the race. Krobler does a best lap time over there. Krobler does the best lap time of 57.956. So a solid lap time from him over there. But here comes the charging pack. Oh, a touch there. A touch on the BMW. Oh my goodness, over the curb they go. Over the curbs they go. The BMW and Ferrari getting a touch. And again, the blue. Oh no! They've taken each other out. They've taken each other out. Doherbe has taken out. And that looks like other one over there.
That's the radio.
Oh my goodness, was that Serradio? Oh my goodness, Serradio there and Luke taking each other out. So Andre Serradio now, after a fantastic performance in race one, now finds himself down in 9th position and tussling for 10th place, tussling his way onto the grass.
Well, that's the thing. I wonder if the red mist got to him. He started falling down the grid, started panicking a little bit more, and pulling some rough moves. He went onto the back of Doherbe, unfortunately twisting him around, putting him in the wall. So now Doe's going to be dealing with a little bit more damage. Serradio also, that front end might not be gripping as much. He's been constantly tapping cars. So I wonder if it's now more of a mental thing that's stopping him from moving forward. He's so concentrating on him falling back and trying too hard that it's chucked him further back.
Well, Serradio over there, what I saw in just looking at the stream over here, Serradio did jump on the inside, went over the curb, but the second collision between him and Doherbe, I think, was a mistake. I think he wasn't trying to battle Doherbe. I think Doherbe and him collided when Doe sort of got past him after his initial incident, and both of them then got forced off the circuit over the curbs. Into the wall goes Doherbe, and unfortunate turn of events there. Doherbe being the unlucky recipient of that pit maneuver.
That's it. Hildebrandt having a great time. He's chasing after Ethan Smith at the moment, trying to keep it all together, but you can hear the guys are feathering the throttles a little bit more. They're just trying to keep those tires a little bit more alive. They're aware of the situation the tires can do. So this is very, very interesting to hear the drivers playing more of a tactical game in race 2 versus more of a race.
Daniel Rowe trying to have a look down the inside onto the main straight over there. Daniel Rowe and Labuschagne fighting tooth and nail. Labuschagne saying, no, 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 you've got to make your way past me, not force your way past me. And Daniel Rowe getting held back there by Labuschagne after having a look down the inside. And I think it's a fairly common sight now to see the Ferraris locking up as they go into that first corner over there. But Labuschagne doing very well, and Lucchesi and De Nobrega are not too upset about that, because Daniel Rowe does seem to have the pace on everybody else at this stage.
That's it. Daniel Rowe really trying to get his nose in, but you can see the Ferrari not as settled through the corners. So I wonder if they did a little bit of changes to it, because on entry you can see that tail stepping out.
Big time, and now we see Daniel Rowe going around the outside, going through the sweep. Very close through the sweep section now. This is the final sector of this circuit as they make their way up to the right-hand hairpin up ahead. Daniel Rowe's going to want to go through the outside, then dive back down the inside, and that's exactly what he does. Oh, they touch! And Daniel Rowe comes off second best. Daniel Rowe comes off second best, but luckily doesn't spin it out. Manages to hold on, and behind it, the back pocket spins out into the tire wall.
That looks to be Arwen, who's lost a touch the dirt, and as we heard from Daniel, it's like driving on wet grass and no grip and sending him into a wall. Definitely not how you want your race to go. But Daniel Rowe now having to climb his way back up. So after sliding a little bit, I'm sure the tires aren't going to be too happy, but he has to try and figure out he's a little bit quicker. He needs to get on the inside and needs to make the move count. He needs to be right up to the door to make it count, utilizing all the circuit plus more to try and gain as much pace as possible.
Look at the pace that he's got on Labuschagne though. Daniel Rowe, a fantastic drive from him so far. but a bit over-aggressive at times, I've got to say. But he's definitely got the pace. And we saw earlier on even, oh my goodness, Labuschagne goes off. Daniel Rowe goes around the outside. Labuschagne turns in on Daniel Rowe. Oh my goodness, I hope that wasn't on purpose. And Labuschagne turns into Daniel Rowe. And the action continues here, but Daniel Rowe gets away. Labuschagne comes off second best.
And that's, I think Labuschagne at that point was a passenger in his own car, trying to keep it all together. He's tight on the inside, locking up the brakes. There's nothing you can do at this point. Daniel Rowe getting a little bit of a Ferrari in the door. He's more than happy to keep on going, but he's in third place now with clean air to move his way up through the field. So well done to him. Now he needs to concentrate on moving up once again. Dirk Herbert still recovering after that massive off that he had. He's chasing down the likes of Johan Krobler at this point from the Team Hybrid Academy, and you can see how hard he's pushing to just try and make up a bit of time. And they're caught behind Luke, one of the few Porsches that are actually racing and favored. You know, this is the one thing that is quite interesting. The guys are favoring the Ferraris a lot more than the Porsches, the BMWs, and more. So I wonder if they did a little bit of testing around the circuits just to find that the longer game, the Ferrari might be a better option, but it just seems like it's not agreeing for Aldo.
Yeah, I just looked at the stream now. It looks like Johan Labuschagne had one wheel on the dirt, and as you rightly pointed out, that wheel would have locked up and spun him into now on the outside. Daniel Rowe has been now gone board with Luke in 7th position. Johan Krobler now coming in 8th place, but snatches 7th position going down the inside. Oh, they touch! The door gets closed aggressively so by Luke. Luke turns in on him, and that looked like a robust maneuver to say the least. Luke keeps his 7th position, and but luckily everybody is still in the fight as the racing continues.
Well, that's it. Now there's also a little bit of team play coming out. Team Tryhard is the sister team to Team Hybrid Academy. So you've got Johan Krobler, who's just trying to make his way up. He got caught with Do Herber getting very, very close to him. I think he spoke to Do and said, listen, just give me a bit of a gap. I can take him. Do going and allowing it to happen. Didn't go for it, but Johan Krobler just returning the favor of the door getting closed on him by the looks of it. Just saying, hey buddy, you know, I can also slam the door on you, but absolutely incredible racing.
Incredible racing, door-to-door stuff, but the guys are getting a little, the fists are definitely coming out now by the looks of things. These guys are definitely holding up their hands a little bit, not afraid to heel them. Someone that's been very aggressive so far has been Daniel Rowe, but he still finds himself 12 seconds behind the leader, or 11 seconds now at this stage. Lucchesi 3 seconds down, but Johan Krobler, a fantastic overtake there, and a forceful overtake there. Now finds himself in 7th position. Labuschagne in 5th place, Glashagen in 4th. Well done to Glashagen there in 4th position. A fantastic drive from him so far. We saw him qualifying 7th in yesterday's qualifying. So Glashagen now in 4th position, but Lucchesi and De Nobrega with a decent sized gap between them and the chasing row.
Well, this is the thing, Ernest. You've been involved in seeing drivers go and get a little bit aggressive, door to door for many, many years. And you know, the effects that come into it, you've now gotten aggressive, you're like, oh, this guy went to close the door on me. That carries through, it doesn't end there, it carries through. And do you think it's going to affect the race right the way through?
Yeah, so Radio with the first pit stop, and technically I've been on the receiving end of a one race ban because of something exactly like that, because the previous corner, I'm not sure if the rules are the same, but the MSA steward at the time, the previous corner didn't count towards the next corner incident, which they saw as a little bit too robust. And you know, it's just one of those things. The stewards then need to police this, and you can't be carrying grudges with you for the duration of the race. I think that's what they're trying to avoid. But at the same time, sometimes, you know, you can't also be a pushover. So there is a fine line between getting roughed up and being the one that is doing the roughing up.
But do you think at this point it's slowing you down? You going and got that mental space. You have to try and chuck it away from behind you and start concentrating on the race that's going on ahead. I mean, you've got the likes of Do Herber here. He's just seen the little bit of racing that's gone on with Luke and his sister team car of Johan Krobler. He's trying to be a little bit more cautious at this point fearing whether, is this going to happen once again? And starting to negatively affect his race. He needs to actually get a wheel in and go, but he's second guessing it the whole time. Is this a type of space where you got to chuck it behind you, you got to forget about what just happened, it's been a lap, and keep going? You got to really stomp it in.
Exactly. The best race car drivers are able to take the information that they have, use that to their advantage, but at the same time, put anything that happened in the past. You can't change it. It's like trying to fix a fast lap. Once you make that mistake into turn one, you can't fix that for the rest of the lap. It's over now. So drivers that try and look back and try and fix past mistakes by going into the future with them, it just doesn't work.
Daniel Rowe with an early pit stop, so he's in the pits now. You can hear him revving up a little bit. He's wanting to get back out. He's dropping down the order. So Daniel Rowe going in for a pit stop, and we've also got Seradio going in for a pit stop. So they have been very, very early in their pit stops, hoping for a long run. And
yes.
This is where it gets interesting. Change up from what they originally did, going a little bit further on.
Yeah, we saw earlier race, some very late pit stops over there, the last couple of minutes of the race, in fact. And this time now, the first 15 minutes of the race, we've already seen Daniel in the pits. A long pit stop from him, hopefully not too long. He's still in the pits at 50-odd seconds. Looks like the stop itself took 40 seconds, and he's now onto the track once again.
So I wonder if he got a little bit of a tyre change as well from that, or just repairing some lingering damage that's been around. So he's got a little bit of work ahead of him, lying in 12th spot. He knows he's a lot quicker. He's one lap down now, so he has to really push as hard as he can to unlap himself and then still go back after the leader. This is where it gets a little bit tricky.
It gets a bit tricky, but remember, the drivers are able to drop one round. They are able to drop one round in this championship, and that allows for someone like Daniel Rowe, who's won a previous race, to drop his worst round. Let's say he wins the next round. This one's not going to matter quite as much if he's able to drop one of his lesser rounds, but still, he's still right up there. And I think once the dust has settled on the pit stops, we're still going to see him very, very far up the order.
Then I'm going to ask, Doug Herber getting a little bit aggressive there past Luke. Luke seems to be a little bit slower, and Doe's having to try and figure out how to get past. But is this the round you want to drop, the inaugural round? This is the round that you really want to be the best. So that's kind of the toss-up here. You really need to push at this point. I think I think the early pit stop, he's hoping for a better gain, learning from race one.
Yeah, that's the idea, learning from race one. And these drivers, but it's all the same for everyone. They've all got to learn from their past mistakes. They've all got to learn from the little information that they have. We've seen this happen with the Pro Series before, where once the information is out there, this is Luke Lucchesi. This is Luke Lucchesi making an overtake on one of the back markers up. When Luke Lucchesi goes for an overtake, I always get a little bit concerned because he can be a little bit aggressive sometimes. We've seen him in the road tussle together, but Lucchesi's still 1.5 seconds behind the leader. But Lucchesi now having to thread his way through the back markers. That looks like Smith up ahead of him there. And Lucchesi trying to get past Smith. Can he do so? Yes, he does. And the gap now 2 seconds. So Lucchesi losing out a little bit there in that back marker tussle over there. But yeah, the drivers are learning things as they go along, and the evolution will continue. But I think the advantage is for those drivers that have just a little bit of extra info over the others. It's all going to count. But by round 3 and 4, once the dust settles, everybody knows what they need to know. It won't be quite as easy.
Well, that's it. And I've got to give it up for Ethan Smith, moving way offline just to go and give the gap, but unfortunately also losing a position at the same time. So I think a little bit of I'll move out the way for you, and well, you got Van Roy, and he's like, oh, thanks very much, I'll go by. So definitely a bit of work there for the guys, especially with the blue flags at this point. They've got to remember they're in their own race. They can't just give way the whole time, and they've got to try and figure out what's going to be the best opportunity to minimize time loss when getting by. So I think that's something to work on. You can see Doe Herber still fighting out. Luke very, very defensive at this point. Doe going on the inside, trying to brake hard into the final bend, but just not able to get that Ferrari to get back on the power as early as Luke's Porsche.
Luke's Porsche able to get on the power early, that engine hanging all the way over that rear axle as we now cut to Ethan Smith. Ethan Smith battle for P9 happening right now. Ethan Smith and Van Rooyen over there. Van Rooyen in that Porsche just up ahead of Ethan Smith in that 8th Corsa Ferrari over there. As they go into the first corner, the gap not too big, about a car length for 2. And this is for P9. So both of these drivers want to make sure they have a solid top 10 position going in here. Speaking of top 10, Daniel Rowe finds himself now in 12th position.
That's it. He's got to try and fight his way through. But Ethan running a little bit off onto the dirt, dirting those tires, but he has to try and wait for the tires to clean themselves off. Remember, R Factor 2, his tire dynamic is very, very close to what the real life cars are. They're able to get flat spots, they're able to get dirt, and you have to wait until the tires actually clean themselves off. So you've got to be very, very careful of where you put the car onto the circuit. And little drops into the dirt like that will cost you, especially through the S's. As you said, you've got to give and take through those corners. And if you've got tires that are not willing to do that, you're going to be in a serious amount of pain. That's where Van Rooyen is more than happy to pull away.
Krobler now in 6th position over there. Going in on Hillebrand over there. Krobler and Hillebrand for position. This is 6th and 5th place. So this is for position as we go on board with Krobler. Now Krobler having a look down the inside. Hillebrand not having any of it. Is he going to try and cover up the inside going into the final corner as they do a very late apex here? Now Krobler is going to try and get the run down the main straight. I think he's got it. Krobler does seem to have the speed going into the first corner, but we saw early on drivers have been having a bit of a habit of cutting the nose off going into this first corner. Will that be the case this time? No. Krobler gets past cleanly and Hillebrand has to yield into 6th position.
That's it. And Krobler more than happy to just go and stick his nose all the way forward, brake as late as possible. He trusts his competitor, but Hillebrand going and falling off into the dirt. So I think getting a little bit of tunnel vision there as they were flying their way through.
Oh man, Hillebrand now a little bit further back than he needed to be, as the gap now has increased between the two of them as we go on board with Douw Gerber. Douw Gerber in 8th position, still having a look on 7th position Luke over here, and Douw Gerber gets overtaken by Daniel Rowe, who is absolutely flying through the field at this stage. Daniel Rowe is so aggressively flying, and we've seen him before, very aggressive in that Lamborghini. He really works that car, the car rotating and slipping and sliding all the way. He goes around the outside there onto the straight. So Daniel Rowe not holding anything back. He's going to try and make the move stick around the outside is Rowe, and Rowe trying to get as many positions as possible. Rowe cuts the nose off. And that seems a little bit unnecessary there of Daniel Rowe. Daniel Rowe cutting the nose off that Porsche there, and I wonder if anybody's going to be waving any fingers towards him. A very aggressive move there, and Luke is left wondering what just happened.
Well, I think to the initial, Daniel Rowe gave the radio message to his sister team of Paul saying, listen, I'm coming through, and well, after that bit of contact, Paul's going, well, not really what I needed, but thanks anyway, and moving up in position. But Luke is definitely going to be a little bit more aggressive now to try and close down the gap to old Paul Gerber. So this is going to be a very interesting chase for him. So it is going to be a very, very difficult time.
Well, speaking of difficult time, Tristan de Nobrega not having it all his way as Luke Lucchesi now 0.6 of a second within striking distance of the lead car. Tristan, of course, doing fantastically well in the first race, scoring himself a podium and now carving his way past the Ferrari over there, one of the back markers over there, as Lucchesi looks on and tries to do the same.
And that's Paul Gerber, and he's also having to straighten up quite a bit to let the guys go, at the same time costing him a little bit of time as well. But as you said, this is definitely not what you want to be in. You don't want to be in a situation where you're getting chased down, where you have to push that little bit harder, especially with 35 minutes to go. You want to have a little bit of clean air so you can get into that rhythm and not have to worry about looking in your rearview mirrors, constantly waiting for the attack.
Constantly waiting for the attack is de Nobrega, because Lucchesi has, I'm sure, got some feelings of ill will towards his competitors, because he felt maybe he was a little bit hard done in the previous race. Now he's not going to be having any of that. He was leading the race earlier on. He was fighting for first position until he had a coming together with the hard-charging Daniel Rowe. But this time, now Tristan de Nobrega in front of him, and he sits in second place in the same position Daniel Rowe was in race 1.
That's it, but I think going and having that ill will, he needs to throw it aside, and this is what he's doing. He's trying to concentrate on the race. But Tristan having an absolute blast around the circuit, he's able to keep the car a little bit more settled compared to Lucchese. So this is really, really interesting. Daniel Rowe making up a position though, so he's made it up on Van Rooyen, who was in the pits. Van Rooyen trying to keep himself all together, taking 1 minute 10 in minutes into the pits. So that's a very, very long time.
Penalty for Van Rooyen over there, and as that happens, Daniel Rowe gets the fastest lap. So Daniel Rowe on an absolute charge over here. Has got fresh track in front of him. Could he have fresh rubber on as well? Because he does look like he's going very, very fast. And I'd love to hear from our producers what times exactly he's doing compared to some of his competitors.
I think at this point he's got a lead foot and just making sure that that accelerator pedal is pushed through the floorboard.
Wow. So, unbelievable stuff. He's faster than obviously everybody else on track is Daniel Rowe. But what will happen once the pit stop start? Luke Lucchese now applying amazing pressure to De Nobrega. De Nobrega just having come fresh from a karting weekend, coming from a karting national, and now he finds himself at the Virtual SAGT round 2, fighting for first position after having claimed himself a podium. De Nobrega, of course, part of the Piazza Musso clan. Funny enough, I think one of the Piazza Musso X-cars rolled yesterday at the rally, a spectacular looking Ford Cosworth. So a family with a very, very rich motorsport history and background. And Tristan now flying the flag, the family flag, as he now leads this race of the Virtual SAGT. And you know, oftentimes when we refer to virtual races, you know, there might be certain thoughts around it, but this ties into the real thing. So whether you like virtual, whether you like the real thing, this is one of those championships where drivers can actually get to do both.
Well, the other thing to look at is we say virtual and everyone thinks he's just sitting at home and fine. But these guys are racing just as hard as they would do in the real cars, in the real go-karts, in the real everything. They are pushing themselves to the limit, and they have to feel through their hands. They're not getting the movement, they're not getting the G-forces, and Tristan at the moment is having to try and get back to that sim world after he's just been racing and feeling all the G's in the go-kart. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting of that transition from the real world, or sim to seat, if I can put it that way.
Just saw someone going off in the background there, the back marker that just got overtaken, going off into the distance there. That looks like it could have been Hillebrand. Yeah, that was Hillebrand going off into the dirt, and Hillebrand now falling all the way down the order, unfortunately. A big mistake from him as he now rejoins the circuit. But the race up ahead continues with just 0.6 of a second between the two lead drivers, as we go on board with Tristan once again, looking at this rear-facing camera, and we can see exactly what De Nobrega, or at least what Lucchese is doing, as he tries to eke ever closer towards the lead car of De Nobrega.
It looks like Lucchese's getting early on the power, just that tail starting to slide out every so often through the exit, while you got De Nobrega going on the brakes mid-corner just to settle it all down, so trying to settle the Ferrari that's sliding all over the show. So a very interesting driving styles between the two of how they pushing these cars, how they trying to make up as much time as possible.
Van Rooyen doing fantastically well. Sorry, not Van Rooyen. Rowe doing fantastically well, scoring multiple fast laps, and he is on an absolute charge. Hillebrand has to pit thanks to that incident we just saw earlier on. So that incident did affect Hillebrand, so he's forced to pit. There's 13 minutes remaining of this race with half a second in between the two lead cars, and the pit stops haven't even started yet.
Well, that's it, and you don't want to be getting these pit stops all the way now with unnecessary damage or unnecessary changing tires and all that. But Rowe at the moment is smiling. He's up into 10th. He's just keeps on going. He's got clean air every time he goes by. He doesn't have to worry about trying to make a pass at this point. He just keeps going.
Don't know how Ro's doing it. I'm not sure what his strategy is. He had a very long pit stop earlier on. I wonder how this is all going to pan out. You've got Ethan Smith on your screen at the moment, Soradio in front of him, and Soradio, after that sterling performance early on, finds himself all the way down in 8th position as Ethan Smith chases him down from 9th. As you can see on your screen, 30 minutes remaining now as we go on board with Luke getting some big pressure from the car behind him. But I don't think this is for position.
I don't think it's for position, but he is watching his mirrors.
Yeah, he is watching his mirror. That's a radio at the back there, and that would be for position. This would be a back marker to Luke over here. Lucchesi and Dunobriga now separated by a second again. So that gap has grown ever so slightly, but it is porpoising, as they say in the Formula One world, and it is concertinaing every now and then.
Well, do you think that Luke at the moment is battling unnecessarily, knowing that this car is not for position? He's watching his rearview mirrors. He's going defensive the whole time, trying to defend when there's not much to defend.
Yeah, there's not much to defend at all, and that's what happens. That's what happens. And it does seem... Oh, Soradio almost gets collected there. It does seem like this sim actually punishes the chasing driver quite a bit for contact by the looks of things.
That's it. The sim itself has developed from 2012 all the way now. It's grown better and better, and having as much input from the actual sim races and also the real world to try and develop something that's fair, but at the same time harsh behavior is not welcomed. So trying to keep everything fair in it, which we usually see where we have the stewards going and sending out the penalties, with the Setta Corsa, the Competizione. iRacing just penalizes everyone that is involved. This is trying to give a little bit more of, you're getting too aggressive, you're trying to cause trouble, and there we go. But it looks, so looking at it, Kurt Gloschken was the one that got affected. So he's actually trying to lap Luke and got a little bit of a knock there. So that's definitely, Luke was getting the blue flags there. That was really unnecessary racing, but now it has cost him because Soradio's all over the back of him again.
Yeah, Kurt Gloschken is not going to be happy about this, not at all. And as you mentioned, he was in 3rd place, and he kind of slipped through the cracks there with us. Kurt, fantastic so far in 3rd position, and much, much higher than he was in the previous race. And Kurt Gloschken now finds himself very frustrated, I'm sure, as he in 3rd place has to battle someone that is much, much slower than him.
Well, I just saw Luke going and blasting off into the distance and going and saying, how's it to the tires? So unnecessary pushing has cost him. Now Soradio is getting the blue flags. He just has to look in his mirror and decide, you know what, Luke's not in front of me. I've made up the position. Just let the guy go. Need to focus on my race. But at the moment, I think Luke is going to be having a very rough time. And I'm sure that Porsche is looking closer to a Mini than what it originally was.
Yeah, Gloschken yesterday qualifying in 7th position, Kurt Gloschken, and now finds himself in a top 3 spot, comfortably in a top 3 spot, bar the pit stop of Daniel Rowe. So Kurt Gloschken, I'm sure he's going to be happy with that. His pace now seems to be matching Soradio, and will Soradio let him go past? He's supposed to yield. It's a blue flag situation, but if the pace is very similar, what do you do then? And there's somebody's going into the pits. The pit stops have started. That's Gerber. Gerber's gone into the pits, and now the pit stops have started.
That's it. I think at this point, Soradio going and yielding, braking a little bit earlier into turn 1, but allowing Kurt to just get that toe down, trying to minimize time loss. So that's absolutely fantastic. Luke's still in the pits. He's still got a crinkle cut chippy of a Porsche at this point. But Paul Gerber, he's looking to get out. But Johan Krobler having a ton of fun. He's charging out to the top, and he's used to being in the top 10. And this is exactly where he wants to be, duking it out with his old rivals.
JC Krobler, of course, no stranger to the sim racing world, having won a couple of big events. JC Krobler now finds himself in 5th position on the lead lap. Lucchese's gone into the pits, and this is what we need to watch. Lucchese's in the pits, and let's watch that timer. The timer started now. The car has stopped. We saw earlier on that Rowe stopped for a total of 40 seconds, and Lucchese has already stopped. So Lucchese is doing a splash and dash. Daniel Rowe did a tire change, and this is could cost Daniel Rowe extensively, because Daniel Rowe now is going to find himself at the back of Lucchese, but with still quite some distance between them.
But I wonder if it's going to pay off in the long run. Daniel Rowe knows what the tires were doing when he was pushing incredibly hard. He knows how the tires are going to go off. Luke Lucchese has now just done a splash and dash and get going once again. He knows that he's got a lap ahead, but is that going to last with 24 minutes left in the race? Remember, the tires start reaching that cliff face. It starts dropping off, and you'll see the car starting to slide around a little bit more. They'll start to skid and slide as they battle their way around Aldo Scribante.
Battling indeed, and I tell you, this has turned into a game of chess, not checkers over here. Daniel Rowe playing the strategic game. It's going to be so fascinating to see how this all turns out. We go on board with JC Grobler in first position, the number 15 Scuderia car coming up towards Labuschagne in fourth place. This is for position. Labuschagne just split seconds ahead as they make their way down the main straight now towards the right-hander at the end of the straight. Johan Grobler has got some pace. Labuschagne goes a little bit defensive and thinks about going defensive, and then tucks it into the corner and slides his way through. Gonna try and rotate it all the way through into the next corner.
These mighty Ferraris showing what they can do, but Grobler really putting on the pressure at the moment. He's just got enough room that in case there's a mistake, he's able to capitalize, but also not get involved in any incident. So he's taking things a little bit more cautiously compared to when the race first started. Well, Johan has to try and keep it all together. He's braking a fraction later. We saw it, and you mentioned it earlier, the Ferrari's locking up every so often as they're pushing a little bit too hard. So now the flat spots start to come in. You're starting to feel it on the steering, and it doesn't matter what steering you've got, whether you've got a G29 or you've got a direct drive, only the thing that's going to happen is that flat spot is going to vibrate through your hands, and you're going to have to work harder and harder to keep that car in check.
Well, I'm just taking a look at the trophies for round one, for the first two rounds of this championship, and the drivers of the Virtual SAGT get the same trophies as the drivers of the SAGT, and I've seen these trophies up close and personal. They look fantastic. They also get Michelin caps to boot, so the drivers can look forward to some serious gear for our winners.
And a little bit of history on a little bit to know about those Michelin caps. There's only a limited quantity that's made by Michelin. They're only embroidered a certain amount. So to get your hands on it, you have to be a recognized category from Michelin, which is SAGT has got that. And now creating the Virtual SAGT, the drivers have the privilege to get that hat that you can't go and buy. It is, I think it's like 500 of made.
That's spectacular stuff, and I mean it's got the the thing they stick over the wreath. I think it's called the wreath. It's got the wreath on the peak. So I mean that is just spectacular that the drivers get to experience that as we now go on board with Kurt Glashagen in third position, and now starting to apply some pressure to Luke Lucchese. Luke Lucchese in second position. We saw early on with a very short pit stop, and Kurt Glashagen in third position, but De Nobrega 30 seconds ahead. So De Nobrega is going to have to make a very quick pit stop himself. Let's see where Daniel Rowe is, all the way down in 8th place, and Daniel Rowe is taking the ultimate gamble with 21 minutes remaining, only 20 minutes left. So Daniel Rowe is somebody's tucked into the pits there. Somebody's tucked into the pits. That is Labuschagne that's gone into the pits as Daniel Rowe makes up another position.
That's it. So Grobler now needs to keep on going, but is he going to yield to his teammate? That is the question. Daniel Rowe is the teammate who's a lap down. Is he going to give the gap and utilize Daniel Rowe's pace, Or is he going to go, well, Daniel, you're a lap behind. I'm chasing. I'm going after that third place. I need to put his foot down. So this is where team tactics do come into play, but at the same time, well, the red mist also becomes a big thing. And you've also got Kurt diving into the pits. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Is Grobler going to dive into the pits as well, or is he going to keep on going?
Grobler looks like he's kept on going. Glashagen in the pits now. Let's see how long that stop is. You can see the total time stopped is in brackets over there, just 11 seconds. So another splash and dash from Glashagen as Grobler jumps into third place. And the pit stops are now starting to sort out the order as the Nobrega still leads us off. But the gap now is closed down from 30 seconds to 25 seconds.
Definitely not what you want to do, especially when you got a pit stop that you still got to do. You have to try and open that gap up. He knows he still needs to pit. Well, Luke Lucchesi has got a smile on his face at this point. He is starting to close down, and Kurt goes and spins it.
Oh no! Oh no! Tristan de Nobrega is involved in an incident. Tristan de Nobrega involved in an incident. Here come more cars now. Tristan had a massive lead, and oh my goodness me, that has turned this whole race on its head. Tristan now had a 30-second lead. The lead dropped down to 25 seconds, and now that lead has all but disappeared thanks to a spin out from one of the cars up ahead.
Kurt going and losing it on cold tires, and now Tristan has got a bit of damage on the car, which is going to extend his pit stop. So this has just made it far worse for him, because he's going to be driving with damage. That's going to slow him down for one. He is going to fill in the pits, which is going to give him a required repair on it as well. Oh my heavens, nothing. That is what you fear as first place. That is the worst thing that can happen, and unfortunately it's all a freak thing at that point. Oh my heavens.
I'm looking at the stream now to see exactly what happened over here. They came through the S's, and as you so rightly mentioned, Glashagen just spun it out coming on the exit of the S's. S's can happen to anyone. I've seen it happen myself, and Tristan had absolutely nowhere to go. He was parked in the middle of the road. He came forward. Technically, as far as I know, Glashagen should have stayed parked. He did drive forward and then got connected by Tristan de Nobrega. Tristan could have gotten past him if Glashagen did keep it parked. So I'm wondering what the stewards are going to say to that. But man, this is not looking good for de Nobrega.
Well, there's a successful new dent on Kurt's car, that's for certain. De Nobrega is not going to be happy with Crinkle Cut Chippy, the leading car, as he's got to try and make his way through. But Ethan Smith at the moment, he's feeling the pressure from Soradio, so that's absolutely fantastic to see that Ethan starting to climb his way up. You know, this is absolutely brilliant to see Ethan working his way up slowly and slowly. He's learned from race 1 and is trying to carry it through into race 2, and that's what we want to see from the drivers, learning right the way through.
De Nobrega makes up and loses 15 seconds of his 30-second lead, but he's still going to be on the podium, where it could be that the podium is not going to look exactly the same. He might still be able to get a nice haul of points. Just going through the comments here, we've got Corne Strauss, one of our fellow sim racers, in the comments asking if Tristan is in P1. Well, he is still in P1, but Corne, we're not quite sure what's going to happen after the next round of pit stops, because we're waiting. There was a big, he collected Glashagen just seconds ago, and unfortunately they collided coming out to the S's, and that has put Tristan at a massive disadvantage. So Tristan de Nobrega started at the back of the grid, made his way onto the podium for race 1. Of course, the second race gets determined by the fastest laps in race 1. The second race start positions get determined by the fastest laps in race 1. And Tristan now fighting for the lead, gets into a tussle, collects someone that's much further back than him, and unfortunately is now on the back foot. Corne Strauss says that the stream looks great. Kalen Mauer says great racing and commentary team. I'll take that, Kalen. I'll take it.
Definitely take that one. But take a look at Soradio sliding the BMW, trying to really do everything he can as he just battles to try and keep it all together. And also taking a look at the comments as well, Soradio's engineer saying they messed up on the pit stop, so that's why he's just doing everything he can to make up ground. So a little bit of little bit of teamwork didn't quite work out there, unfortunately. So now Seradio on the back foot going after Ethan Smith, but you can see fighting. That BM is sliding around. Those rear wheels want to start drifting around the corners at this point. So it's absolutely a handful. Well, Ethan is a little bit more calm and composed at the moment.
Yeah, Aiden giving us some of that inside info on the live stream over there. They messed up Seradio's pit stop. He says, what a shame, man. And that's what it can come down to. It can come down to a botched pit stop, but you win some, you lose some, and I'm sure the team's going to be back next time having learned from a mistake. We all make mistakes, but we all learn, and it's how you move forward, how you get back up. Seradio pushing hard this entire race. He really has dropped the hammer on that BMW, really pushing hard. So it's fantastic to see him still in this race. Definitely not out yet.
That's it, and you can see Ethan trying to keep it all together, hitting those apexes, but seems to be going in a little bit too slow, and that's allowing Seradio closer and closer every single time. But Seradio's losing it on corner exit. He's sliding the car out. He's just not able to get that traction.
You see it right there, the car really moving out, the back of the car slipping and sliding. I want to keep this view on Ethan Smith so we can watch Seradio's exits. As you so rightly pointed out, it could be that the exits are what's costing him. Aiden once again saying all testing the water was strategy, and that's exactly it. The drivers having to test strategy on this first 2 rounds, and look at how close Seradio's getting to that Ferrari. But watch him on the exit there. This time not too shabby. He's starting to get the power down now. I think he's got the pace, but can he make this overtake stick on Ethan Smith?
That's it, but Seradio has got the advantage. The BMW is able to brake a lot harder into the corners. He's able to get that nose right in and utilize the weight to go and make the car stick. But unfortunately, as soon as you get lead foot, the tail wants to come out from underneath you. So Ethan has to back off a little bit earlier to try and get the car a bit more settled, while Seradio can really dig the nose in. But I think the tires are just taking a little bit too much of the pain at the moment, and it's costing him as time goes on. 13 minutes to go. This is going through the driver's head. I think at this moment the teams are not going to talk about times. They have to try and say, just go, race, enjoy. You can see also Ethan's going and touching the brakes. He's trying to settle that car mid-corner.
Well, look at the gap between De Nobrega and Lucchesi. 37 seconds the gap there, and 47 seconds between Krobler and De Nobrega. So somehow De Nobrega has managed to recreate a gap for himself of 37.3 seconds to Lucchesi, which means that could be enough for him to keep that lead even after that big spill. So the culmination of this race has become so exciting. I hope that this is the case, and I hope that Tristan can maintain that lead after that unfortunate incident earlier, because that's not how you want to lose the race.
Definitely not, and you can be sure that at the moment he is nursing that car as much as possible and as much as he can, because it is really having to battle out. And you've also got Paul Herbert making a move on Luke. He's trying to make his way up through the field once again, just trying to also keep it all together. Luke unfortunately had a massive incident further on. Well, later back he went off at just out of the S's and got it into the wall. But Luke Lucchesi, he's also slowly drawing in. He's trying to find that limping De Nobrega every single time. Daniel Rowe making a pass, though. He is slowly making up as much time as possible, but I don't think the early pit stop worked in his favor.
Not at all, not in the least. He still finds himself more than a lap down, and I don't think De Nobrega's limping. I'd love to speak to him about the damage model and how the damage has affected him, because I don't think De Nobrega's limping at the moment. Luke Lucchesi does seem to be limping with 39 seconds, and there goes Rowe. Looks like that was Daniel Rowe that just unlapped himself as Daniel Rowe goes off into the distance there. Yes, that is Daniel Rowe unlapping himself. And Luke Lucchesi now finding himself 39 seconds behind De Nobrega, who still hasn't pitted yet, as far as I know, and is still in the lead. So here comes the final 10 minutes, and surely De Nobrega should pit. And Seradio's still battling out with Smith over here. Seradio's still trying to get past Smith. Here he goes now down the inside of the hairpin. Is this going to be it? No, it isn't, but that's late braking from Smith over there, but Smith manages to hold on. Smith with some very late braking over there, but still manages to hold on to the car. as Seradio now goes through the dipper, the sweep over there towards the final hairpin.
Seradio just is not able to get that power down. He's not able to utilize it as much as he was earlier on in the race. You could see how hard he's really trying to kick the car around to get it going, but Ethan Smith at the moment is keeping it all together. A little bit of a flash to say, don't worry, I'm coming. You're not pulling away just as yet. It's a little bit of a friendly chat, I think, but absolutely fantastic to see the guys duking it out. I mean, this is 6th and 7th, and they're battling it out like they're 1st and 2nd.
1st and 2nd, 6th and 7th. It doesn't matter to these guys. They want to battle it out either way. The PlayStation BMW there over those curbs and still chasing on. It's not over yet. 10 minutes remaining. Comes up on the board. Andre Seradio, your podium finisher from earlier on with a fantastic performance, has somehow managed to eke his way back into 7th. If you remember earlier on, Steve, he was way down the order. So Seradio doing fantastically well. He was running 10th at one stage, even dropping as far down to just outside the top 10. So Seradio doing fantastically well to make his way back up. He was 11th at his worst, I think. So Seradio doing well now to be 7th and potentially 6th. But we've got to give credit to Smith as well. Smith was running 9th early on, now finds himself in 6th position and not letting up at all.
Well, the thing is, he's keeping a cool, calm head at this point. He's not worrying about Seradio, and that's the best thing that you can do at this point. Soak that pressure in and just allow the race to keep going. So it's going to be interesting. Johan Krobler, though, into 3rd place, and he's been also trying to make his way through. He had a little bit of an argy-bargy a bit early on in the race, but now keeping calm, cooled, and focused as he makes his way around the circuit.
Johan Krobler gaining 1.5 seconds a lap. I think the tires on Lucchese's car are absolutely destroyed. And Lucchese now finds himself being the walking wounded towards the finish line. Lucchese in 2nd place at the moment, but that gap is closing fast between him and Krobler, and the gap ever growing between him and De Nobrega. Lucchese not getting lots of luck here, but I think the setup on that car has pained him a little bit in the closing stages of this race. He is struggling heavily with that car at the moment, and just look at the gap closing between him and JC Krobler.
Well, this is the thing. You've got to build a setup that is a long lasting. You can have a super aggressive setup to push you up to the front, but at the same time your tire degradation is just going to be absolutely awful. So you've got to try and figure out a bit of a hybrid mix to it. Do you go that super aggressive to try and push your way to the front, and then try and relax on the throttle to just keep yourself going, but that will cost you time? And this is what the drivers are having to figure out with this sim. It is new in South Africa in terms of it's not raced a lot. So the drivers are coming from multiple other different sims into R Factor 2, still trying to figure it out. The team's still trying to iron out the little kinks, but this is something I think is going to really develop through the championship. We're going to see those super aggressive setups, and we're going to see those setups that are a little bit more relaxed. You're going to see quali setups versus the endurance setups, if I can put it that way.
I can't wait to hear what Tristan has to say about his setup, because he is literally galloping away from the field. And Daniel Rowe as well. I've even asked the guys on the stream if anybody's got some inside information on Daniel Rowe's strategy and why it turned out so badly. We are not running ballast in this series over here, and Daniel Rowe, having won the previous race, didn't take ballast with him into the second race. So it's very strange that he ends up so far down the order in 8th position so far. Seradio's too far up ahead. We're still waiting for De Nobrega to pit, but even if De Nobrega takes tires, he might even have enough time to do that.
Well, this is the thing. You're all about trying to keep it going, and it's not really one that you can have a more of like a negative toe effect to your car, or too much camber to try and make the physics work with you. This is an entirely different thing. As far as I'm aware, that R Factor 2... Oh,
Johan Krobler spins out in 3rd position. Johan Krobler spins out in 3rd position. Oh no, we did not see that coming, and now he's got someone else to contend with behind him. That's Glashagen. That's Glashagen. Glashagen now having a look down the outside. The Glashagen's going around the outside of turn 1. This is not going to be good. They touch. Both of them spin out. Oh no. Too aggressive was Glashagen, and Labuskachny. Krobler didn't want to yield holds on to third place, but this is not what we want to see. Not that was a little bit too aggressive. I saw that happen in the real virtual SAGT. It wasn't that aggressive, and here comes Daniel Rowe still charging his way through now. Daniel Rowe still charging his way through. This is Smith ahead of him now. Daniel Rowe is exceptionally aggressive, tucking the nose of that Lamborghini below that Ferrari. He's going to take a dive down the inside. The Ferrari cuts the nose though, and Daniel Rowe rightly yields this time. I'm so glad he yielded this time. We hate to see the guys bumping and barging as the Bonaldi Lamborghini, looking very, very racy, comes down the inside. He is alongside. Guys, this is a healed situation here. Oh, they touch again. Onto the dirt goes Ethan Smith, and Ethan Smith runs wide, but what's happened to, oh no! And that is Daniel Rowe spinning all the way out. Ethan Smith rejoins. Daniel Rowe in 7th position, slots in, but maintains 7th position though. And lots and lots of incidents here.
Our stewards are going to be busy. That's
busy. Aiden says, we got very lucky with Daniel. We managed to get that undercut. Interested to see what went wrong with him. Yeah, I'd like to find out because, you know, and this is what we're learning as well now as the commentary team, as the team that's running the event. The pit stop lengths are different. The pit stop, the way they work is different. You know, there's so many different variables now that we're not seeing play out as we did in other sims. And now the undercuts are different. The timings are going to be different. And also how the car performs before and after the pit stop is different. So all of these variables need to be taken into account by the strategist. And I'm hoping those strategists can pass on some of that information to us so we don't have to figure it out for ourselves. But I suppose a lot of that is also going to be secret information.
Sounds like I've got to drive the sim and crash it into a few tires to figure out what does what at this point.
I'm very much looking forward to doing a couple of laps on this sim.
Well, that's going to be the interesting part. Ethan trying to keep it all together. He's keeping close to Daniel. Daniel's a little bit stuck, and I think Daniel is also he's having a bit of a heavy time, risky time trying to pull away. He's locking those brakes up. So I wonder, you know, is it all, you know, come to a head that he's trying too hard? He dives off into the dirt as well. But Kurt is really now pushing. He's trying to make up as much ground as possible. But we're seeing a lot of not yielding, and all I can say is the older Group N days of rubbing doors, you know, that sort of action coming in. But as you can see,
and this isn't an Opel Cub up against a Ford Fiesta.
No, unfortunately not. This is a little bit more expensive than that. But Ethan duking it out with Daniel Rowe at this point and having a great time while doing it. So, I mean, this is quite enjoyable to see, you know, a new name battling it out with a name that we usually see right at the top of the field.
Indeed, Jeff Latham saying this is absolutely awesome. Gabriel Pinero saying race end adrenaline causing bad decisions, but decent racing until now. I think I'm agreeing over there. And someone asked, Corne Strauss asked if Daniel Rowe just raced here the other day. Yes, he did race a Lamborghini at this very circuit, and that's what the virtual SAGT is all about, is to replicate the real world with the same cars, the same circuits over and over as the season continues, and give you guys out there that are driving the opportunity to get behind the wheel of a GT3 cars. Yeah, let's see what happens now in the closing stages of the race. De Nobrega, the leader, the gap down to 27 seconds now. I think he might have pitted. I think he might have missed that pit stop there. But De Nobrega still leads us off.
That's it. And you could see Kurt going and chasing down Labusnachny, doing everything he can late on the brakes, just trying to cause a mistake to happen. And it seems like with it, the guys are able to control the late braking a little bit more. But I'm sure that they're starting to feel a little bit more of those flat spots coming up, and I think the tires are starting to go from round to square at this point, especially with the later stages of this race. Lights on for Labusnachny as he tries to keep it all together. Kurt really
bit of a lock up there.
hard.
Bit of a lock up there, and there's so much strategy going. It's so interesting to hear the team bosses talking about this in the chat over here. Oh no, Ethan Smith spins out. Ethan Smith pirouettes the Ferrari over there, and you were just saying that he was holding his own up against the much more experienced Rowe over there, but unfortunately pirouettes his way out of contention. There still holds on to 9th position, still in the top 10, but he's going to be a bit disappointed, all things considered, with 1 minute to go.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for execution. Just
he didn't
quite
stick the
make
landing though. He didn't
yeah,
stick
that's
the
it.
landing.
But Kurt keeping the pressure on at the moment. Now he's just doing everything he can, trying to eke out a mistake, and this is trying to make the driver focus on those mirrors. And that's a very intelligent move. Just make him lean on the one side. Try and make him look to the left the whole time or look to the right the whole time. Keep him off those apexes. Try and focus the mistake.
Tristan de Nobrega goes off, makes a mistake and runs wide. Keep it together, Tristan. Keep it together. Just 10 seconds on the clock. And Tristan de Nobrega, I'm sure the Piazza Musso clan watching on is shouting at the screen at this stage. Keep it together. Stay focused. You've done all the work up until this stage. Now is not the time to throw it all away.
That's it, and I'm sure that every sim racer that is joining us, and also real world racers joining us in the stream, are busy grabbing their hair. They are waiting at this moment, because just don't lose it. That's all you have to do. Just don't lose it.
One corner to go. He makes his way down the final pit straight. This is Tristan de Nobrega flashing his lights across the line. Goes de Nobrega and takes the win of the second round of the Virtual SAGT. Spins it out there. This time you can spin it out as much as you want. The stewards might give him a bit of a talking to, but Luke Lucchesi still fighting it out there. Luke Lucchesi now getting unlapped by, that looks like Daniel Rowe. They're tucking it in behind Luke Lucchesi. Let's keep it clean for now, guys. It's almost time. And Luke Lucchesi gets across the line in second position. Grobler takes third place over there. A fantastic performance from Grobler. Labuskachny gets fourth place. Glasagen for Seradio, a fantastic performance from him. A sterling performance from Seradio to get sixth place after all the drama he's been through. Daniel Rowe 7th, Gerbers 8th, Smith 9th, Luke 10th, Hillebrand 11th, and 12th, our final finisher, Van Rooyen, 3 laps now down the list.
Absolutely, and what a race it has been, with all the racers putting in a huge amount of effort, a lot of time into it, and I think everyone up and down this field can be giving themselves a pat on the back for what an epic action-packed race this was. And I can't wait for the rest of the season. If this is race 1, imagine what the final race is going to look like.
Exactly. Tiago Seradio says, great race. I think a lot of people have looked at this and seen that the racing is very, very good. I do like the fact that there can be a little bit of extra argy-bargy there, and the cars still stay on the track. We've got 7 minutes to go till load shedding, so we're going to get started with those driver interviews quickly. So let's get those top 3 guys into the paddock area, if you will, and let's have that chat with them. And also special thanks to our team that organized everything. We'll be right back after this ad break and be chatting to the drivers in a moment.
Welcome to Africa's first ROG arena. Woo!
Well, there you have it, folks. Jan Grobler gets third place. Wow, well done to him. And it's so nice to also see a different looking podium. Early on, we saw Andre Seradio, Tristan de Nobrega, and Daniel Rowe on the podium. Now, the only familiar name on there is Tristan in first place. He moves up one, but Johan Grobler gets the top 3 spot. Johan Grobler will be joining us very shortly, and we're just waiting for him to jump into the room with us. He's just getting ready, unbuckling those seatbelt clips. And we're going to be chatting to our winner, Luke Lucchesi, I apologize. Luke Lucchesi is joining us now. Let's hear what he has to say once he joins us in the room over here. Luke Lucchesi, are you there, my friend?
Hey, how's it?
How's it? Long time, bro. I didn't know you drive in circles as well.
not full circles.
Luke Lucchesi, we've known each other many years. We've had many conversations, but this is the first time that I've chatted to you. Well, I have chatted to you on the podium before, to be honest, but this time you made it to the podium, second position. Man, that looked eventful out there, bro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, look, the tyres at the end of the race were finished. I had a little bit of a spin, and that just finished off my left rear. I was on like 13% at the end of the race. So it was
we don't have much time to chat, so I just want to quickly hear from you the tyre situation. What happened out there? Explain to us what it's like on those tyres.
Look, probably at about 30 minutes, the tyres are trash. So then the rear is just stepping all over the place. And obviously, the more you step, the more you wheel spin, the more they wear down. So you got to be really careful. Obviously, that's tied to the setup. And if you have a spin, like I did, then you just pretty much finish that tyre off. Then it's time to pit. But I had already pitted at that stage, so I couldn't do anything about it. Otherwise, I would have dropped too far back.
Yeah, exactly. Steve, any questions from you?
No, I just want to say well done for the second place. You did absolutely phenomenal work, and can't wait to see what you can do round 2.
Yeah, man, thanks. The more I get used to the sim, I think the better it's going to be.
I think the more you get used to the sim, the better you're going to be, my friend. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
Awesome stuff there from Luke Lucchesi. We've got minutes to go. Johan Grobler, are you there? Johan?
Yeah.
Yes, Johan, quickly from you, one question from each of us. What was your race like? You managed to make it all the way to the podium position. Give us a quick rundown of what your race was like.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Not the easiest of tracks to come through the field, but strategy worked out in the end. I pitted on end of lap 2 to get some clear track, and then just pushed as hard as I could. Yeah, paid off in the end, but some airy moments coming through the pack for sure.
Plenty airy moments. Steve, any final questions from you before we get load shedding?
Yeah, and I just want to ask, red mist came down. How did you put it behind you?
After the disappointment, race 1, technical difficulty with my equipment, couldn't start that race, so I had to make race 2 count and sort of just, I don't think red mist really so much, just dead down, focus, get the job done.
Well, job done indeed, my friend. Job done indeed. Well done on the podium position. And we will definitely see you at the next round and maybe even behind the wheel of a GT3 car at some stage.
Thanks, Nance.
Bago. We'll see Bago soon. I'm sure we're waiting for one more driver, and that, of course, is Tristan de Nobrega. Let's see if he's going to join us. Tristan, quickly, we got minutes out here. Dude, what happened out there? There were incidents, but you still managed to stay ahead. How did the strategy work?
Yeah, good to be back on the podium and take the win in that one. Very happy with that. Well done to the other guys on the podium as well. I think it was a good race overall. In terms of the incidences, yeah, super scary stuff there, especially when you're leading the race and you're under pressure from someone behind. I think maybe we need to find a better way on how to implement blue flags or how guys see blue flags, because it gets a bit scary out there, especially when guys are spinning and stuff. And then they don't even see you coming and they just rejoin in front of you. So I had two incidences that were like almost race ending. Especially after the first one, the damage on the car was really bad. Managed to hold on to it, and then just brought it home safely. And also, I'm sure you saw on the last lap as well, again, back marker going into turn 1, kind of caught me off guard.
I saw that. But we've got to go, Tristan. A fantastic performance from you, from all of us here at the Virtual SAES GT. What a fantastic day. You did super well, Tristan. We'll talk again when I see you in person next time. We'll see you guys at the next one. Congratulations to our winners, our second place, third place drivers, and all the drivers from all of us here at the SA Virtual GT. Virtual SAES GT. My name is Ernest Page. We'll see you guys next time.
Cheers.